it is this like pretty used saying that you don't find mezcal, mezcal finds you, but there really is something to it. It is so well known, but still so unknown.
Yeah.
And it's still so alive in many ways. I still haven't found anything that still is so tightly linked to not only a country, but to the people and the history and the heritage as agave spirits are to Mexico. It's about life, but it's not about life and death.
Welcome to PreBatch. Today we're speaking with Björn Kjellberg. Bjorn is a tequila maestro, bar consultant, and most recently, bar manager of top 50 bar Röda Huset. Today we speak about Bjorn's transition from bar to brand ambassador and back to the bar again, Röda Huset's extreme approach to buying local and seasonal produce, the importance of training soft skills like service and hospitality, guest-friendly cocktails as opposed to bartender-friendly cocktails. We also speak about the role awards like Top 50 play in the bar industry, and we speak about the agave industry and Mexican culture. The drinks for today are Swizzle al Pastor, Paloma and Grape, and Batanga Alegre. Björn Kjellberg.
That's
How you doing,
me.
man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Great to have you. I'm
Great to be here.
I'm super
Fun.
excited.
Been looking
to talk
forward.
to you. So tell me what you're doing now. Like, what do you do mostly now?
Mostly, I'm the general manager of a bar and restaurant in Stockholm, Sweden, called Röda Huset, which translates to the Red House, because it's located in a red house.
I didn't even know that.
No.
Never thought to ask what Röda Huset means.
So it means the Red House.
Okay, cool.
And we think it's so obvious when people come. It's like, is this Röda Huset? Especially an international guest. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's a red house. Only then to realize that only Swedes will get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm the general manager at Röda Huset. So that's what I do most of the time. And then I, as much side things as I can fit in. But it's been a really, really, really busy year. Good busy year. So
what side hustles have you got going on right now? Because ever since I've known you, you've always had side hustles.
Yeah, I kind of get bored easily, so I need to keep myself occupied. But I mean, tequila stuff, like educational programs. I'm actually helping out now a new restaurant in Stockholm who opens next week named Mexico. So it's a Mexican-themed restaurant, yeah.
Got it.
So I'm helping them out with a beverage program, cocktail program. So I do that. And then, of course, everything related to EBS. Whenever you guys and the guys at EBS call, I'm there.
Yeah.
As part of the Board of Education.
Yeah.
So I do a little bit of everything. If it's fun and worth doing, I'm try to squeeze it in.
What made you go back into the bar? Because like I think we met maybe more than 10 years ago, but you know, around that time, whatever. If I'm not misremembering it, it was in Stockholm. I think you had a little pop-up, a really small pop-up.
Oh yeah, the bottles.
There, like, I just remember like vague memory of like white tiles, subway tiles on the back, and it was like. Oh no! I remember you had like really good ice for like 10 years ago. It was like you were.
Yeah. No, that wasn't the pop up. If it was tiles and stickers, probably. Yeah. Then it was a bar called Little Quarter.
Little Quarter, yeah, exactly.
No, that wasn't the pop up. That was a real bar. That was a great bar. Bit biased, of course, but probably one of the greatest bars ever.
Oh, I loved it on
this planet.
I just have a hazy, fuzzy, nice feeling about it. So like that's a good thing for
I think that's a good thing. If
you have that thing, like I don't really remember it because we kind of got fucked up, but it was that's how it goes for most people.
Yeah. But no, that was an amazing bar, and there were three of us working there, me, Micke, and Andrea, and me and Micke left in, I think, end of 2014, and then in 2015 we opened something called Bottles, which was like a pop-up bar concept.
I
Me,
remember
Mike,
Bottles as well,
and
yeah.
a third guy named Hampus Thunholm,
Yeah.
who now owns Röda Huset where I work. So we're still together, me and Hampus at least. Mike is still a great friend. But yeah, and then I left working bar service properly in like 2016, I think. And then doing more brand works, both as a consultant and also working more dedicated to a couple of different brands from time to time.
Because when you were ambassador for Altos for a bit,
yeah. So between 2018 all the way through 2022, I think. To 2021, I was working for the Altos Tequila brand in Sweden and a little bit in Norway. But then in 2022, I felt that I was done with the whole corporate
thing. You were going to say dead inside then.
Yeah, that too.
I thought I was kind of dead inside.
No. That happened way earlier. I was like 11, 12 when I realized the whole game is rigged.
Yeah, I think I saw it in you at Little Quarter 10 years ago.
But no, I just missed being part of like the service hospitality industry for real. Because as an ambassador and since I used to be a bartender, I still had like one foot in. But I kind of miss being part of it for real. And especially now, because there's so much going on. Like after the pandemic, it really took off again. So much cool and fun and exciting stuff going on in the bar industry, and I want to be part of it again. So I kind of made a little comeback at a small conceptual cocktail bar in Stockholm called the Wednesday. So I was there for a year, and then Hampus called me. And Röda Huset have been open for about 3 years, and the way I see it, since Hampus opened it, it's been more or less just a matter of time and timing. And when he called, it was just, let's do it. So I jumped on as general manager.
So what's the capacity at Röda Huset?
We're both a restaurant and a bar, and all seated guests, and like the dining area, so to speak, and we can probably sit about 20 people. And in total, I would say maybe 70 people at the same time, at the most.
So like 20 at the bar, 70 in total.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, 20 in the dining area.
20. Oh, okay.
20. Yeah, and then about 50 spread out in the room. I think we have 70 chairs. So exactly.
Okay, cool. I asked
Something
because general manager can mean very different things depending on the size of the venue. If you're in a big venue and you're the general manager, you're never on the bar. But if you're in a fairly small venue, then you're hustling.
I'm more hustling. I've done one bar shift, but we have a great bar team, so they don't need me there, and that's not. The place don't need me as a bartender. I think I'm better. I can contribute more being the overall manager, taking care of the staff. And
so do you like host like during service a bit more than anything else? Yeah. Okay.
Which is fun as well. I enjoy that.
So what was the transition like? Because I think people are interested in this, like the transition from the bar to being an ambassador, and then what caused you to want to to go back, and what was that transition like back?
I don't know. The thing is, I've never ever had like a greater plan with my life or career or anything. Shit just happens and I go along.
Inspirational, man.
No, but I mean,
it's good.
But I mean,
say yes to shit, right? That's what I always
you
say.
often get that question like, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And as far as I can remember, I never wanted to be anything. I just like, let's see what happens. I'm just want to have fun, you know. So I more or less just ended up first as a bar back in my hometown in southern Sweden. Ended up as a bar back on a nightclub, but very second I stepped into that bar for the first time, I knew, it was like finding some kind of inner peace. Like, okay, now I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna work in this industry because it's fun, it's rewarding. And I don't know if I had talent or a neck for it, or that came because I thought it was fun, but I developed rather fast, I think, which made it even more fun and more rewarding. And then, as I said, I'm also pretty restless and I want to do more things, and also got that geeky or nerdy side to me. So I want to learn more about the spirits and more about the cocktails. So I started learning that on my own and on the side. And then me and a friend started a bartending school in Sweden. So I was developed all the educational material and did all the lectures and the practical bar training for the students. And then I kind of got into the whole lecturing, masterclassing thing.
I don't think I knew that. Maybe you told me once before.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. Yeah. And we did that for a couple of years, like on the side while I was still working restaurants. So it's pretty much the majority of my time as a bartender. I've always been doing like brand work, so to speak, on the side.
Yeah.
And it's just been shifting back and forth. In periods, the brand work has taken more time and less in the bar. And other times it's been the opposite.
Yeah,
more
so it
bar
wasn't
and
like
less.
a full transition,
No.
like a shock to the system like it is for some people. Because I think some people go from the bar to a ambassador role and they're just like blinded by the amount of like bureaucracy and the marketing side and protocols and the various hours and then the travel, like they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, it's always been the both for me.
Okay.
So it's never been that shock. I'm always been like prepared for both, and also making the transition back to working bar hours or restaurant hours was never such a big deal now when I did it. Although a lot of people was very surprised, since when I was working for Altos, and the last year I was the trade marketing manager at Pernod Ricard in Sweden. So I had a team of 4 brand ambassadors, five during seasons. So I had a team and was like middle management with a very secure. Everything is so secure when you work for a big company, and leaving all that to start working bars again made a lot of people question, like, what are you doing and why? But to me, that's, I do get why they don't get it, because it's the wrong route, so to speak.
Yeah, it seems like a backstep.
Yeah, but to me it's always been about the bar. It's always been about bartending. I always consider myself a bartender, and that's what I want to be. And also now when you do, I don't know, guest shifts, or you do lectures or master classes or brand works, they always want a title, something that they can market and they can sell. But to me, it's I'm a bartender. That is the greatest title you can have.
Yeah. I remember it's like
proud of
a
being
few, not so much now, but a few articles and interviews I've done back in the day, and they're desperate to call me a mixologist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's a bartender. I tend the bar. I take care of people. That's what we do. Stocking bottles, cleaning up other people's mess.
Yeah.
And that's where the beauty and the serenity lies, I think. To me at least.
Yeah.
And also I've been talking a lot like being in the bar when you're slammed, being like heavily in the weed, that's where I find like peace.
Oh yeah. That for me,
that's
and it's been a
meditative.
while since I was there, but that for me is the most, not to be super sort of woke American, but it's the most present I feel. You feel like so like meditative, and you get into that flow state where time changes, so your concepts of time change, and you're just like almost like out of body experience where you just see hands moving.
Yeah, exactly.
You're having conversations, everything just seems to click, and your brain just goes into like autopilot. And you're like, oh, this is sick.
I love that, and it's always been like it helps you calm down. I also think like when I've been away from it, I've kind of missed it. I had to replace it with something else. Yeah, that's been hard.
The immediate nature of it as well. Like if you compare it to like an ambassador role or an office job or something like that, like you don't like leave a bar shift and think about all the things that you need to do tomorrow, next week, 1 month from now. You're just like, well, everything that I had to do needed to be done within 5 minutes of me receiving the information, and then it was done, and then I got the next thing, and then that had to be done, and then I did it. And it's just like having like a constant list that's growing, and you're ticking it off as you go, instead of like I have things on my list which is like a 1 year project, which like for a bartender brain is like, no, but
you can never.
When do I get to tick it off? Like in 1 year, and you're like, oh, but then how am I gonna sleep?
It's horrible. That has been the hardest part, I think, with working as I've been working, is juggling both the bar job and having like office hours and all that things that comes with working in an office, whether it be a small company or a large company. That's been the toughest, because during periods I've been working like 6-7 days a week, and at least like 3-4 days out of those first office hours, then bar hours. And when I really started doing both at the same time, I also had my son at the same time. That's probably not, if we're going to talk mental health, the most strategic move to do. Work office hours, bar hours, and get a kid. So of course it has been struggling like mentally from time to time, but now I think I learned how to handle it pretty properly, I think.
Which like, if you have to choose one in general, like which job is easier to handle with a kid? The office job or the hospitality job?
I mean, in one way, of course, the office job, but no, to be honest, the bar job, I would say, because you have your daytime is free. So when they're really small, before they start in kindergarten and stuff, you can actually be with them, be with him, and at night there's sleep. I mean, you are gonna lack sleep anyway. But I think in one way, but it all matters what kind of relationship you're in. With your partner. That's what matters, like how you juggle it.
How you juggle everything.
But no, I mean, of course it's tough, but I also think it's when I see people with what makes it easier with an office job is it's so easy to get like a sick day, or if the kids need to be home from school, you can take a day off. But you can't
do the work tomorrow.
You can always do that. Even though it might stress you, but you can still do it. Whilst the rest, you need to open the restaurant. You can't just close one day because your kid got sick. You can't do that.
I mean, it's like sickness, right? Like, when I came into office work, and it's still now, honestly, like if I'm sick, I just come to work. Like I just work, or like, now I'll just work from home, but I'll still work. And it's just still burnt into me from hospitality. Like you don't get a sick day. Like if you're sick and you have to be off, like if you're really incapacitated, fair enough, but you just kind of think, well, I'm screwing somebody over. Surely, like you just have that in your mind, like, well, I can't just take a sick day because somebody has to cover for me. Whereas the office work is not like that. It's like, if you're sick, just rest up. And
that's what makes it easier. But at the same time, I mean, it's been like this for the last 15 years. So I don't really know. I never had like a normal job, so to speak. Even when I had office jobs, it was still linked to the hospitality industry. So it's always been like kind of like a 24/7.
And it's not like an kind of situation. An ambassador role also has the travel element. As well,
exactly.
Right? Which is
always been traveling, always been working odd hours, and always been working a lot. So I don't really know it. I don't have any references. But looking at people with normal jobs, so to speak, I don't envy them either.
I don't think they necessarily do any better.
No, I don't look down on them either. Like I don't think my situation and my choices are for everyone. I really don't. But at the same time, I understand them. And at the same time, I don't think other people's choices are for me either necessarily. There's just different ways of navigating through life.
For sure. And I do notice now, like, and maybe it's because I'm a bit older, but no, I don't think it is. I think back in the day, like I would see couples get to a certain age, and I'm talking about in the bar, and then they would get to a certain point where they want to have a kid, and then they're immediately looking for their exit.
Yeah.
Like, what's my exit strategy? Because you can't have a kid and be a bartender at the same time. It's just not possible. But now I have loads of friends who own bars or are bartending. They have a kid, and both of them are bartenders, or one of them does office and one of them does bar or whatever, and they just make it work.
Yeah,
you know?
I think
like,
it is.
Not
if you really want to, or really need to, you can.
Yeah.
You can make. There are other ways, but I think we at least used to be more stuck or boxed in like.
Yeah.
This is the way to do it, and this is the only way to do it. But I like to challenge that and see. Like, there are other ways.
I think we
there
also
must be other ways.
used to work like ridiculous hours, and maybe that's not as common anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there were back in, you know, I'm talking 15 years ago, I was topping 100 hours sometimes, you know, but like commonly 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And you couldn't, I was like,
that was like the industry standard back then. Now it's changed, which is a good thing, I think. It's a very good thing.
So what's the deal at Röda Huset? What's apart from it being a red house, what sets Röda Huset apart?
We have our cocktail program is rather specific and rather unique in the sense that we strictly and only work with Scandinavian, Swedish at most, but Scandinavian. We allowed ourselves to Scandinavian produce and ingredients and flavors. The only thing not Scandinavian is the spirits.
I was going to say,
because the way we see it, spirits is like the seasoning to our cocktails. So when we create new cocktails, we basically do non-alcoholic drinks first. We work with the flavor or the produce. So okay, we got this great batch of plums from a grower that we know. Okay, what do we do with them? So we start working around with that. How can we get these plums to taste more plums, kind of? And once we have that, okay, what spirit will add the most here or fit in the best? So it's kind of like reversed way of working, and it's also very clean flavors. Like if it is a cocktail with raspberries, we want you to taste Swedish raspberries say that the raspberries are from the island of Gotland. We want them to taste as much of that as possible. We don't want to hide the flavors. Thank you. So I think that's one thing. So no citrus fruits or no nothing. Just pure Scandinavian ingredients and flavors. And clean flavors.
Yeah. So what?
And I mean,
what can you grow in Sweden? I mean, I've got a very English mentality here where we can literally grow potatoes, cauliflower. Well, now we can grow like some raspberries and blackberries and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we have. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Let's have a drink.
What is this?
This is not from Röda Huset, as you can tell, because you can't grow pineapples in Sweden.
Oh, you're even strict on the garnish.
Yeah, we have no garnish. We have one cocktail is garnished. That's it. And the garnish is in frozen, a piece of grass frozen inside an ice cube.
Sounds like a dream, man.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
But no, this is a cocktail I called...
That's great.
Thank you. Swizzle al Pastor. And it's been with me for a while. I first made it with... there was this like tiki-themed bar in Stockholm. And they wanted to, during 1 month or something, have a menu where different... bartenders from Stockholm contributed with a cocktail each, and I wanted to make something with tequila, of course, or mezcal, and I wanted to have it tiki themed and Mexican flavors. And the taco of all tacos to me is the taco al pastor, where you marinate the meat with pineapple and chilies. And I like the concept of Swizzle cocktails where you use the Swizzle stick because you look ridiculous when you use it, and that's fun. And it's also ridiculous that Cocktail Kingdom, and now probably others, but Cocktail Kingdom found a way to sell wooden sticks to bartenders for like $15. I think it's just gorgeous. But mainly you look like an idiot while using a Swizzle stick, but at the same time you're trying to look cool and historic, but you just look ridiculous. So I think that's funny. So I want to make a Swizzle.
I remember landing somewhere and seeing one of those. I think it's a Bailulu tree that grows the Swizzle sticks. And I saw like bushes and bushes of them from the plane, and I was thinking like, well, I need to get down there. This is like millions. Yeah. You just give these to Cocktail Kingdom and then mark it up for 100% profit.
And I mean Swizzle is in the tiki family, And once in, I often use this as an example why the purpose, why it could be good to actually learn a little bit about history and doing some digging when it comes to classic cocktails. So I did some research on the Swizzle cocktail family. So what defines a Swizzle besides the stick and the crushed ice? And apparently it's an old non-alcoholic drink called Swizzle or something. We often used vinegars and something spicy, if I remember correctly. So I think, vinegar can be a nice flavor. And then we have the whole modern tiki Swizzle with citrus and sweetener. So I'm just came up with this drink. So it's pineapple-infused tequila, a little bit of mezcal, just to get it in there, hot sauce, raspberry vinegar, lime juice. Am I forgetting something?
Something carbonated. No, is it not? Is it not fizzy?
No, it's not.
Am I dreaming that it's fizzy?
Yeah.
Okay. It must be my natural carbon dioxide.
Yeah. No, so I think it's pineapple infused tequila, hot sauce, lime, agave syrup, and some little bit of raspberry vinegar and some mezcal, and that's it.
Is there some lemon in there? No, or is the vinegar? It's just the vinegar.
Lime
okay.
juice. Yeah. So that's my Swizzle out pastor, and been following me ever since.
Nice. It was super fresh, man. Like,
thank you. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. But yeah, what can you grow besides not pineapple in Sweden? I mean, we have a pretty short period, so we also work extremely seasonal at Röda Huset. But to most people, seasonal is use what grows now. But that's just tip of the iceberg. Like, now it's summer. Now you can pick strawberries, so let's make strawberry cocktails. And yes, we do that as well. But what it's really is all about is harvest when in season and preserve it for the rest of the year, because most of the year you can't grow anything.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I mean, most of the year
the season is in Sweden is like 3 months you can grow shit, 9 months you can't grow shit.
Yeah, pretty much. So we try to collect as much as we can during season, and then we preserve it, whether it be fermenting it, pickling it, put it in sugar syrup, or redistill it, or whatever we do to preserve it so we can bring it out for the remainder of the year. And also, like, if you look at other bars, like, oh, now it's raspberry season, let's make raspberry cocktails. That makes sense. But it's even more fun, like when it's 15 degrees below zero and it's snowy, or even worse, snowing and raining at the same time, and pitch black and everything sucks. That's when you need the flavor of fresh raspberry the most. So that's when we bring out our preserved raspberries and make raspberry cocktails.
Yeah.
Because that's when you need that escape.
Yeah. So rather than seasonal meaning a change of ingredients, it's a change of technique. So in summer it's fresh raspberries, and in winter it's pickled raspberries.
Exactly. Exactly. And
which is very historical. Like, that's like literally for the past 5,000 years or something, until refrigerators existed. Yeah,
that's how we've been doing it. We want to highlight that and learn something from history. And I also think, and to me it is without taking shots at anyone here, but
do it.
When you have fresh raspberries, why would you serve them fermented?
Yeah.
But you see that a lot, because now you have these great ingredients, and you just learned this new cool technique that you want to showcase. Yeah, but it's kind of pointless when you can get the taste of freshness.
Yeah.
Why you want to ruin it? Use it for why it was invented, as a preservation.
So well, I mean, you have to preface that with like saying that you'll only buy locally, because in many countries you can get raspberries all year. Like if I'm in the UK, I can get raspberries all year, and I can get a lot of shit that doesn't grow in the UK. Because
and I mean, you can in Sweden, of course, as well, but we want to work with what we have here and now. And also, I think we also want to highlight, because I mean, take apples. There's a huge difference between apples from Sweden or apples from northern Mexico. Both the varieties, but even the same variety is going to differ. So we also want to highlight that. why we often are rather specific. Like it's not just raspberries; it's raspberries from the island of Gotland, for instance. If we bought them from Gotland, or it's sometimes we I think we just took it off the menu. We had a drink called plum from Drejer in Hör. Hör is like a small town in southern Sweden, and Drejer is a friend of ours who he does a lot of weird shit, but he's a hunter and he also grows a lot of plums. So we bought like a huge batch of plums from him. So we want to highlight it's plums from that specific grower. You know,
and
that's a little
what's been done to it as well. I mean, the thing like when you say like the difference between an apple in northern Mexico or an apple in Sweden, like it's not just the difference between the varietals and where it grows. It's what has to happen to it for it to get to Sweden if it comes from northern Mexico. Like, you know, like I know apples in the UK, for example, like they get covered in wax in South America in the winter. Like they get like outside of our season, they'll get covered in wax to stop any bugs from getting in, and then held at as close to frozen as possible without breaking down the fibers. Sometimes for 3-4 months, like maybe longer even, and then they get eaten, and it kind of tastes fresh, like, which is a marvel of the science. And no shame on that, but it's not the same as picking an apple off a tree and biting into it. And it's the same if you've ever grown like tomato. Like my dad grows tomatoes in the garden, and you eat one of his tomatoes, and you're like, oh, actually, fuck, tomatoes are really good. And then now I have friends from England and Ireland that come over to Spain where I live now, and they'll eat tomatoes from Spain because actually Spain's really good for things like that. And they're like, oh, the tomatoes here are so good. And you're like, there's all these like differences. And then you go to the US and it's the opposite. Like, you know, you get an average like fruit from the US and you're like, there's no flavor in any of this. You know, this is like,
and it's also about the freshness.
80% water. Yeah. It's
of course it tastes better if you just pick it, and that's also a thing we want to highlight at Röda Huset. So I think, and for me as a rather like old school bartender, for me it's really fun to work with Hampus and Hannah and the rest of the team, because it's something that's so far away from what I've been doing in bars. I mean, I've been making like innovative cocktails, I've been making classic cocktails, modern cocktails, but I never worked. It's always been in the same formula that's based on the classic cocktail formulas. But now it's something completely different. So it took a while. I'm still not there, to be honest, like getting that way of thinking how to construct a cocktail, because you get locked in how you used to do it. Like either you build it on like a formula, like a sour formula or a martini formula, or you build it on a already existing cocktails and just replace and swap ingredients. But here it's a completely different way of working. So it's really, in a rewarding way, challenging for me as an old school bartender, learning something new. And that's, I think it's super fun to learn a new way of constructing and even looking at cocktails from a completely new angle. And
it's very, I mean, it's got like a heavy sort of kitchen element to it, like, you know, that way of constructing from what's available, what's fresh, or what has been done to it, and starting with like the biggest variable and then using your constants, like your spirits afterwards. Like that completely makes sense, because you don't want to like start building a cocktail and then realize you want to put plums in it, but you can't anymore because they're not here. You know, you have to start with what's going to be the biggest variable and then go, okay, like this is good, let's build off this. And keep making, and that's naturally going to keep making that the hero. Whatever you start with, it's like, okay, I'm going to make a cocktail about plums. If you had plums last, then it wasn't your idea, was it? Your idea was tequila. So you want to like strengthen it with it. So it is a very kitcheny approach, and everything, like the seed to everything comes from when Hampus was working at a now defunct restaurant called Färviken that was up north in Sweden. It was one of the 50 best restaurants. I think they had 2 Michelin stars or maybe 3, I don't remember. And it's also like there's a Netflix series called If It's in the Mind of a Chef, with Magnus, who was the owner and chef at the whole brain behind Färviken restaurant. There's a whole series of Chef's Table. One series there, or season there, is with Magnus from Färviken, and also In the Mind of a Chef is also one. I don't know if it's an episode or a whole
series.
So is Hampus more
he was
focused on the restaurant and you're more focused on the bar?
No.
He oversees everything.
No, I oversee everything, and Hampus is like the overseer. But no, like he's the creative leader.
Yeah, okay.
So to speak.
What's the food offering like then? Is it paired with the cocktails?
No, there's no food pairing. We have wine for that. I think wine.
Yeah.
A cocktail and food pairing can never beat the wine and food pairing to me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas about cocktail and food pairing. But anywho, but we have been cooking like also a lot of Scandinavian produce, of course, but very like traditional European. The foundation is traditional European cooking, but in a modern way. A lot of sharing plates, sharing foods. But now we're launching a new food concept on Monday. So when we record this in like 4 days, we're launching a completely new.
3 months ago, if you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's still there.
Yeah.
But no, so we teamed up with an old friend of ours and also an old colleague of Hampus, really, really great chef from Sweden called Sayan Isaksson, who now he has one Michelin star restaurant. He used to have 2 other one Michelin star restaurants. And he's doing a lot of like Japanese or Asian style food. So now we're turning it into... So he's doing like a pop-up with an old defunct restaurant of his called Shibumi, that Hampus also used to work and be the bar manager. So it's going to be like a Scandinavian izakaya, if you like.
Okay.
Like a Japanese izakaya food made with Scandinavian produce and flavors, and then seasoned with Japanese spices and flavors.
Swedish, Japanese fusion. Nice.
And I think it's gonna sit better with the cocktails, like flavor-wise, and how they are served and how it comes. It's gonna correlate more. Not to say we have food pairings, but it's gonna correlate more, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to launching that, and what the kitchen has been cooking up. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Because that's also like both our cocktails and the food. That's like the very basic, and it may sound stupid, but we want everything to be delicious. And of course, every bartender who creates a cocktail wants it to taste good, but sometimes you kind of forget the deliciousness in the quest to use cool techniques, odd ingredients, odd combinations, and unexpected whatever. You kind of lose that it's supposed to be delicious. Especially if you've been like look at bartender competitions, when you've been judging those or tasting, that's more like haute couture. Like if you get the backstory to the garnish, the glass, the choice of ingredients, it's an amazing cocktail. But if you remove all that, if you don't get the story, if you just get a glass like this in your hand and taste it, it's really not that delicious necessarily. We want everything, all the food, everything should be delicious. And
sometimes I think,
proud of that.
and I understand it, like, bartenders developing menus or just developing drinks, like you say, they want to challenge themselves, which is good, then they should do that. But then there's a point there where, like, for example, like using raspberries, they're like, but I don't want to use raspberries, that's too easy.
Right?
But that doesn't matter. Like, just fucking use whatever makes it taste the best. Like, you don't have to use like wheatgrass from your garden or something. Like, people don't like that, And also, how much I do love mezcal. To float that mezcal on a cocktail is not necessarily going to make it better. Or that bar spoon of green chartreuse, or that bar spoon of fernet. It's not necessarily going to. Does it really make it better? Or just. It's also the target market as well, right? Like quite often bartenders are making drinks for other bartenders. And in some bars that's fine because all of your customers are bartenders. But in some places it's like, some people want an easy life, man. Not everyone wants to be challenged on every day.
No, exactly.
Drink,
But I like that whole, because being now in the game for 2 decades and a little bit more, I've kind of seen it already, like the whole, are we making cocktails for guests or are we making cocktails for other bartenders? But the way I always approach it is, why one or the other? If I make cocktails that I think genuinely are delicious, I'm pretty sure bartenders are going to think they're delicious, and I'm pretty sure regular customers are going to think it's delicious.
Yeah.
You don't have to be one or the other. I think try to appeal both.
Yeah.
Then of course not all cocktails are for everyone. Of course, like a martini style cocktail, if you don't like spirited forward drinks, you're not gonna like it. But that's another thing. You can't please everyone.
No, but there's a Venn diagram there, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to say regular people, non-hospo, non-bartenders, bartenders, and then whatever that crossover is like, maybe like the really sweet, soft drinks are over here, and that's for some people, but it's not going to be crossing over with a lot of bartenders, because they're like, but I've just tasted too many drinks to care about like a sweet raspberry Collins or whatever, you know. And then and
then you have mezcal Negronis over here. And
mezcal Negronis.
And in the middle, you find the daiquiri or the margarita.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I think it can be, and that's also, I mean, if we look at the cocktails we make at Röda Huset, I think we really hit that sweet spot a lot of the times. And we're doing it in a very simple way, like with raspberries. We use a lot of raspberries. I mean, bartenders seem to love it. At least they tell us, and they come visit us, and they vote for us on different like award shows and stuff. And regular, normal, sane people visit us every day and say that we make great cocktails. So I guess we're doing something right, and that makes me pretty proud. Yeah, makes me happy.
That's all that matters, man.
Yeah.
But talking about awards, you're 31.
Yeah.
What you got last time?
Yeah, 31 in the 2023 4 list.
No, 2023.
2023 list. The new list comes out now in October.
Yeah.
So we'll see where we place there.
Yeah.
But when we record this, we're ranked 31.
Yeah.
And we also got which makes us very proud, the Sustainable Bar Award this year.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So we are... I don't know if it's the right term, the world's most sustainable bar, but it's called the Sustainable Bar Award at the world's 50 best bars.
Yeah.
That one
you don't want the
really
pressure
proud.
of being called the world's most sustainable bar anyway. That'd be too much weight.
Yeah.
But
it made us really proud to get that award.
Yeah.
Really, really
because
proud.
a massive part of sustainability, and you know, people can like stop using straws and try and reduce plastic and all that kind of stuff, but if you're still buying apples from the other side of the globe, like that is such a huge impact. So like actually sustainability wise, just buying locally is massive.
That's a huge step.
It's huge, It's like actual impact wise.
Yeah.
But so what does it like to be in a top 50 bar? What changes? Like what's the difference between a top 50 bar and a non-top 50 bar?
Pressure, but mainly
expectations. Like you mean pressure, like because people expect something world class. Yeah,
that and at least for us, and at least for me, and I know the bar team and also the whole front of house and kitchen team as well. The pressure you put on yourself, and that can be heavy sometimes, but I always try to see it as something good, like a healthy pressure to perform like other. I mean, we all take little shortcuts here and there in our everyday life and in our everyday work, but now with that little pressure of being considered one of the 50 best on this planet, I think twice before I take that little shortcut, whatever it can be, you know, like, okay, I know I'm supposed to put this glass like this, but it doesn't matter if I put like this or this, but now I always do like this. I can take this little piece of trash, I can put it here on the tray for now, and then someone else is going to throw it, but no, now I actually throw it in the bin directly because I don't want it showing. So that changes. And also, I mean, of course, it gives you a whole new reach. Maybe not. I mean, Swedes, we're not too. To be honest, we're too cool for school. the common Swede when it comes to list. Like we don't care about that.
Yeah.
Not until you're like top 3 maybe.
Yeah.
But internationally, it's given us a lot of new reach and a lot of new guests who come because you know they're traveling, and if you are traveling, especially the further away you come, like we have a lot of tourists from like Japan, parts of China, South Korea, Singapore, that part of the world. When you travel that far and you only in Stockholm for a limited of time, or in Sweden or in Europe even for a limited time, of course you want like the best.
Yeah.
You want to experience the best.
Yeah.
What is the best Sweden got to offer? And you check food, you check hotels, you check experiences, and you check bars. And then you find this list, and then they find us on that list. So it of course gives you a lot of business. So that too. And as we said, the pressure from the outside as well. I mean, you're always going to be up for scrutiny. Like, they're supposed to be one of the best bars in the world, but I tried the drinks, they were so and so.
Yeah.
And there, of course, you want to perform. I don't want people. I know if we were just a good bar in Stockholm, people would not necessarily judge us as hard. Yeah, the drinks were good, but now they must be, as you said, world class.
Yeah.
And so we need to secure that every drink is as good as it possibly can be, or every plate of food is as good as it possibly can be when we serve it, because people are gonna scrutinize it harder because we are on the list.
I think there's a weird thing. I'm just thinking about it as you're talking. Like there's a weird kind of balance that you need to strike to be classed as really good, whether you're a top 50 bar or whether you're just like considered a very good bar, like, and you're on any kind of list. Like it's actually like, you know, it's not the gimmicky bars that are like really crazy and theatrical on certain things necessarily that come through. It's like the ones with like really solid service. They look after you well. Actually, you don't see a lot of what's going on, because the whole point of going into a bar is you don't really go to a bar to see people work. You go there just to chill. So like all of the actual stuff that makes them really good at what they do is, most of it is hidden purposefully.
For sure.
And then you're kind of setting, like, it's almost like you're setting yourself up for failure a little bit when you're on one of these lists. It's like people are come in and they're expecting to see behind the scene, like, I'm in like the best. So show me why you're the best. And like, no, the reason we're the best is because we don't show you. Like, you're actually supposed to just relax and enjoy it. But then they come in with this expectation, and it kind of like you have to maybe balance that, or like challenge, like, hey, just relax, like, you're just in a bar like any other bar. The reason we're good is because you're gonna have a good time,
and you have to do all that without saying it to the guest, by just showing great service and great hospitality. And that's I'm really, 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 really proud of our entire team, because the level of natural service they perform every day to every guest it is amazing, to me at least. And I just hope people feel that, because we want to, just feel welcome. And as you said, the magic has already happened. The magic that you're going to experience is you're going to get seated, you're going to be well taken care of, and you're going to get your drink and food fast. Because you get a drink incredibly fast at our bar, because, as you said, we've already done the magic. The magic has already happened. Now we're just mounting it together.
What would you say your split is between tourists and locals?
Like,
just interested.
Through the year, if we make like a split
in January, I reckon it's probably
a lot of more locals.
A bit heavier.
In July, it's like 90% tourists. But I would probably say 60-40 maybe. If we count Swedish tourists as well, because people do come as tourists to Stockholm, I would probably say like 60-40 maybe. 70-30. 70-30 is probably more realistic. To say that
70%
locals,
visitors, 70% local.
And 30% tourists. I would say, because I mean, you do live on the locals, and that's what we wanted.
No, but that's a good balance, man. That's what you want. You want those locals, and it shows that you keeping it real, for lack of a better term.
But you want to own and control your own market. Like, if you speak in business terms, like, if I know, to take the Swedish most celebrated brand of spirit. Absolute. If they weren't controlling the Swedish market, it would be pretty odd. It's very important for Absolut Vodka to control the Swedish market. Like we want to be the number one vodka. What else? If we can't show that, you know, so I think it's, you want the locals. You need the locals.
Yeah, for sure.
Because also the tourists. I mean, if another bar were to get on the list and be ranked higher than us, then we would probably lose some of the tourists. And if we then don't have the locals, then it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Tough for us.
Yeah. And would you feel competitive if that happened, or would you feel proud that there's now an extra Swede on that list?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. But I mean, there is I think if we look at like the little cluster of what is perceived as top bars in Stockholm, I think there is a healthy competition, but we're also friends.
Yeah. Who's on that list?
Now, and also since they broadened the list, I think they started doing that in 2014. I think so. They do a 51 to 100. So the world's 50 best bars is 100 list, and same with restaurants and same with hotels. The list that's out now, there are two of us. It's us on the 50, and then a bar called Tjoget, which is in the 51 to 100. And previously, we also had a bar called the Lucy's Flower Shop, who used to be on the list. It's those three bars who are or have been on the list that are still around.
Yeah, I remember there being like a really good scene, like back when I met you at Little Quarter, like there was a good scene then, and I feel like it dropped off for a bit. I mean, I don't know Stockholm that well, but then maybe it's just my perception, and then it seems to be coming back again.
Yeah, I would say, I wouldn't say it necessarily dropped off, but it's kind of stalled more. Like, okay, new bars opened but there were nothing like new or that exciting or groundbreaking going on. And then just before and during the pandemic, something happened. I mean, a lot of shit happened, but something happened with the bar scene. So we got a lot of new, edgier bars and concept. Like we have a bar called Facit up north in Sweden who only work with Swedish ingredients, but also only with Swedish spirits, for instance. That's a pretty tight concept and really challenging to work. But you have that, and you have, I would say, started like maybe 2 years before the pandemic hit, like bars start to conceptualize themselves again. And that's also one thing that drove me back into the bar business. I want to be part of the new thing, or the new Scandinavian bar scene again, because now it's one of the most interesting eras we ever had, because now we're doing something completely new that's never been done before. Like when I started some years, or about the time I started working in bars, we just discovered classics. So we did like cocktails from the 1800s, and then from the Prohibition era, and the Tiki era, and the Absinthe era, and this and that era. But now we've found our own expression of Scandinavian bar scene of today, and that's really cool. So a lot of things going on, and a lot of bars now in Scandinavia, but also in Stockholm, of course, is they have an identity again, I would say.
Yeah, because there was a point there in like
we all did the same thing.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. Yeah, maybe not even 10 years ago. Like, well, it depends where you are, because like time is relative to the size of the city in the bar industry, I think. But like there was a point where bartending, I would say, like, or at least the nature of cocktails became very introspective and self-involved. And I'm talking about the aprons and twirly mustaches time, and like, everyone was like, basing themselves off Jerry Thomas, and people wanted to be fucking star tenders, and it was all about the process of the drink, and
being
honestly, in many places, service suffered massively because
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
You know,
for
it's
sure.
just like, yeah, I'm going to make you an amazing drink in my eyes. The service is going to be shit, but what does
Yeah.
that matter? You know,
And I'm
like
not
now
really
it's
gonna
switched.
care what you actually ordered. I'm gonna make
Yeah.
you my riff on it.
Yeah. And the bar is just going to look like whatever. You know, there is really no strong concept here.
During that era, it was at Tjoget actually. I was there with some friends, and I was there with a friend from London, Dan Priceman, who then worked for Four Roses Bourbon. And since he was there, we of course, had bourbon cocktails. And I told Matthias, the bartender, then, like, yeah, just make me whatever with Four Roses. And I got this drink. It looked like an old fashioned. I tasted it. It's like, fuck, this is delicious. This is one of the best drinks I've had in like such a long time. And asked Matthias, like, what did you do? And he's like, it's an old fashioned. Yeah, I get that. But what did you do to it? No, Björn, it's an old fashioned. And then I realized it's been so long since I actually literally got an old fashioned. Like, there were no twists, there were no riffs, there were no takes, there were no nothing. It was just bourbon, sugar, Angostura, and an orange zest. That's it.
Yeah.
That I've forgotten, like, how delicious that simple drink can be, because everyone was doing
chocolate bitters, smoking it, candy syrup,
adding this
4
and
different
that.
bitters.
Yeah, it's like, and it's
orange zest, lemon zest, lime zest. All right, dude.
Ooh, the triple zest.
Oh no, the triple zest.
And don't get me wrong, that phase was important. Every phase we've been through has been important because it led us to where we are today. And I think the global bar scene today is as good as it's ever been, better than it's ever been, more interesting at least. And now you can actually get more diversity in the bar. Now there are bars who only make classic cocktails. If you want to drink that, you can go to one of those bars. You can go to a tequila bar. You can go to a tiki bar. You can go to a really like local seasonality bar. Or now you can choose. Before it was a lot of everyone doing the same thing. That's pretty boring. Ooh, Paloma time.
Oh, nice.
Cheers.
What's this shit on the outside?
It's black salt.
Perfect.
But it's not that bad black salt. This is nice black salt.
From Sweden?
Yeah, from Sweden.
Actually from Sweden?
I know the salt is not from, there's no Swedish salt.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. It's pretty tasty.
That's banging,
if I may.
man.
Thank you.
Good job.
This is... I'm going to challenge myself. Trying to explain a pun in Swedish in English. And as soon as you're going to explain a pun, it's going to be pretty flat.
We'll edit it out, don't worry.
Yeah, but I call this drink the Paloma and Grape. And it's also been with me for a while. First time I did it was for... I was going to do a tequila inspirational thing for the, I think, EBS Teachers Academy in Stockholm.
Oh, yeah?
So it's like this. So
that was like 6-7 years ago or something.
Yeah, I think it's more.
Last time we did it in Stockholm.
Yeah, I think it's more.
We had to leave because everyone kept getting depressed because of Swedish winter.
Yeah, it is depressing.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing with that is Sweden is a leading country in black metal music, and it's pretty obvious why we are.
Yeah. Black metal and suicide. Let's not get into it.
Yeah, no, let's not. Let's just laugh it off. But no. So a Paloma, classic Paloma, is tequila, lime juice, or lime, grapefruit soda, and salt. And I call this Paloma and Grape because in Sweden we just say we rarely say grapefruit. We just say grape because it makes sense to us, because grapes that you make wine from are not called grapes in Swedish. They're called vindruva. So there's no way you're going to mix up grape. You know, grape is going to be grapefruit.
Okay.
So I wanted to call it Paloma and Grape because you can't just say grape. And when bartenders write recipes, they just write...
What's the Swedish word for grapefruit?
Grapefrukt. So the same thing, Swedified.
Sorry for laughing.
Yeah, no.
Grapefruit.
And also with my fucking southern dialect, it sounds like hell because I can't say R. So it's grapefrukt.
Grapefruit.
Okay. So when bartenders write recipes, even if they're going to publish them internationally, they just write like grape soda or grape cordial or grape whatever. And like, yeah, but if someone non-Swedish speaker going to read your recipe, they're going to think it made from grapes.
Yeah.
Wine grapes. So I call it Paloma and Grape. and also to fuck around with people, you know. So someone's gonna get provoked and say, "Isn't it always grape in a Paloma?" It's like, no, it's grapefruit. So I made a soda from grapes, black grapes.
Actual grapes. Yeah.
So black grapes boiled with sugar and water. It's my best recipe because the recipe is boil until purple, because I want soda to turn purple reddish.
Okay.
That's when you know when it's done.
Yeah.
And then you mix that syrup, that grape syrup, with water and citric acid and carbonate it. And then it's tequila infused with grapefruit zest. So you get some grapefruit in there. And that's it. And then black salt, because it looks pretty with black salt to them.
Yeah,
it's a
also,
contrast.
Adds to it. Super nice, man. The astringency is so good. I mean, texture in a cocktail is like something which is so often missing. You know, you sometimes get a really good flavor, and it just skims right by your palate because there's no texture to it. But this has got texture, which is good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a Bjorn classic, and I use that word very lightly because they don't really catch on to anything. My classics.
Yeah, Bjorn classic.
But I'm trying my best.
Which means not classic.
Yeah. Not classic, not widespread, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, we'll immortalize it here, man.
Paloma and grape.
It's on camera now, so it's immortalized forever.
Oh yeah.
But I was gonna say before, like you were talking about the evolution of bars, and something I, not to talk about my own bar, but something we've done recently is got rid of our back bar, and I think that's like such a weird thing to think about in like it with a 2010 perspective. But where do you get all your bottles from? Like everything's pre-batched and in the freezer already.
Yeah,
like,
and you also just do your menu cocktails.
Yeah, we just do our menu cocktail. I mean, we used to like do our menu, and then if anyone wants a classic outside of that, no problem, we do it. Now we just say no.
Yeah.
Like unless we can do it, like we got a couple of things that we have that we're like, okay, you have to be able to do a regular old fashioned if someone wants one, or a Negroni if somebody wants one. And like most of that, we might even have that pre-batch just in a separate part of the fridge, because now the whole back bar is fridges and freezers. We got rid of all of it. It's just massive because you need all of that. Because to be that level of premium, you need to be serving everything in a frozen glass with a block ice. Like that's where we're at now. Like
that's the standard.
You can't just chill your glass. Like it needs to be coming out of the freezer, and the taste difference is wild. Like like frozen from the freezer with a pre-batch that's as cold as it can be. It's like next level. Like so, you have to be doing that.
That was actually one of the biggest challenges when we opened Röda Huset from the beginning, that we only make our menu cocktails. That's all you're gonna get. That's all we're even able to do. And it's not about us being pretentious assholes, because look around, we don't have a back bar. I can't make you a regular Negroni. I'm sorry, I don't have any bottles to do that. And we took a lot of shots in the beginning, especially from other bartenders. Like, you're supposed to. I think that in a bar you should be able to get a whiskey sour. Yeah. First, we don't have any citrus, and make a whiskey sour with our sour mix based on apples. It's gonna be a great drink, but it's not gonna be a whiskey sour, and you're gonna get disappointed. And I rather do what we do to perfection than do, because I mean, you there are so many other bars where you can get a Manhattan. Yeah. Let them do the Manhattans, and let us do, and now 3 years in, it's not so weird for people anymore. So inch by inch, and also because they got used to what we do, but also because of other more and more bars are doing that. And if we look at restaurants, no one's gonna get disappointed if they go to like a sushi restaurant and it won't be able to order a T-bone steak. No one gets disappointed when you get turned
spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah, no one gets disappointed. People accept that, and I've been looking for that actually for bars for a long time. Like also when you have like, this is a tequila bar. Yeah, but why do you then even have all the other bottles? Why do you have a selection of gins, and why do you have a selection of rums? Like, fuck that.
Because you want to be. This is the thing, and it's a saying I use all the time. It's like, don't try and be everything to everybody and end up being nothing to nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, focus in on it. Yeah. Be like, have courage in your convictions. Do the thing that you want to do, and disappoint a few people for the sake of everybody else who's going to love what you do. Yeah, because those people who really give a shit that you don't make a Manhattan or whatever, they're not that important. And you can do it in a nice way. I don't mean that they're not important, but maybe it'll be, you can
Yeah.
definitely refuse in a good way and say,
Yeah, I think so.
We're just not that place. It's okay. Like there's a classic bar like around the corner. You can
Yeah.
go there, no problem.
And I think it also adds, of course, it adds pressure, but that can also be a healthy pressure for the staff to say no, as you said, in a good way, and explain to them, but try this instead.
Yeah.
Just try it, because then as long as you have a solid product with delicious drinks or delicious food or whatever, as long as it is solid, people are gonna like it. I think.
Yeah, I think we're kind of the victims to some degree, like, or we have been in the past, of being endlessly accommodating to everybody's needs. Like, it's like, you want everybody to come in, like, if they ask for something and you haven't got it, and you're like, okay, well, next time I need to make sure that I have that, because like that's what they wanted. And to be honest, sometimes they don't know what they want, because they're just saying words that they've heard before, right? Like they haven't read the menu. I don't mean like they're ignorant in a bad way.
Yeah.
What is it? I think it's I saw like Noel Gallagher talking about like the customer, like in a classic Manchester way. He's like, fuck the customer. The customer doesn't know what he wants. I mean, not you guys. You guys are awesome, but like my customers are great because they know what they want.
But
nobody
he's right.
else knows what they're talking about.
But he's right, because
you're kind of right. Yeah.
And I think it says
take them on a journey.
Nobody asked for the Beatles to record and release Abbey Road. No one asked for that. No one asked for all the classic albums or the classic movies or the classic whatever. So in one way, and I think that is a great responsibility for the hospitality industry to cater for that, to give people a new experience. But we need to understand the path to the new experience, because you can't, if a guest want a over sweetened raspberry mojito, they can't necessarily take the step from that drink to a dry martini. That's not one step. It's several steps.
You're right.
And as long as you're leading them on the right path and doing it in the right way, you can get all the guests to where you want them, if you want them to be in a specific.
And it's guidance. I was talking with Nathan about this in the last podcast we did, and it's it was more on the aspect of of table talks. I think we call them menu chats. So menu chats at the table, and also the role of the menu itself on guiding people to the right thing. Yeah. And we always go back to this like kind of failure of ours in our last menu, where we had one of the ingredients listed. Now we just mostly do flavor descriptors instead of ingredients, because most people can't actually relate the ingredient to the flavor. But like we had a lacto fermented strawberry or something like that, like in as listed as one of the ingredients, and most people just skip the words lacto fermented and go straight to strawberry and go, I like strawberry, and then they order it. And if the bartender isn't like asking a few questions, because we try and make sure that people are doing a bit of a deep dive if they feel they're not ordering it with confidence or with full knowledge. And if they miss it, it comes to them and they're like, this doesn't really taste like strawberry. I wanted strawberry. And you're like, you didn't read lacto fermented. And then you're like, then you have to like check yourself and go, okay, guys, but like, how many people know what lacto fermented means? Yeah, right. Like you just learned yesterday, so like you can't expect the guests to all know that when you lacto ferment a strawberry, it doesn't taste that much like strawberry anymore, and it gets pretty funky and yeasty. Yeah. So I think I like that, and I think to me making cocktail menus is one of the best things I know, like within all the different. You mean pieces. Like the psychology of it, or everything, like creating the perfect menu, both the selection, but also, as I say, the psychology. And I started thinking about it a lot during actually at Little Quarter, because our menu there was just a blackboard with 10 cocktails. And we learned a lot from there. For instance, the second or third cocktails were always the top sellers, because that's all people care to read. And we once had as the second cocktail on the list was a really stiff stirred drink with Applejack, Amel Picon, and orange bitters. That's it. And it became like one of the most ordered items, which is super weird because it's not a drink for everyone. But I realized people read the name. Okay, fuck that. Applejack. Don't know what it is, but I know the word apple. Amel Picon, no idea. And we didn't even write orange bitter. We just wrote OB. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I like apples. And most people, at least Swedes, think soury, fresh green apples. Yeah. And you get like a stirred
pretty fucked up Manhattan drink, and it's like, oh, the disappointment. Here we go again.
Exactly.
And I learned a lot. I think it's really funny. And also I like to challenge people when writing menus. Like, I don't think we need to tell all the ingredients. You don't have to do that. Of course, from an allergy perspective, of course. But But I don't think I like to also surprise people. It's like this. But as you said, in the right way, it's pretty hazardous to write lacto-fermented strawberry because, as you said, they're just going to read strawberry and they're going to probably think, I don't know, frozen strawberry daiquiri.
Yeah, or like, even worse, they'll think, I think your strawberries have gone bad, man. Like, you know, this is weird. And you're like, we fermented it. Like, it's supposed to be bad, you know.
You're not wrong. It is bad.
Yeah. But I think, the job of the menu, and this is like kind of some team meetings that I've had recently, is like the job of the menu, you know, it's to get the perfect drink to the perfect drinker.
Yeah.
You know, like, and if you don't do that, then you're making amazing drinks, and if you're giving them to the wrong people, they're only as good as the person who doesn't like them that's drinking them, you know. So
I like
if the menu's not doing its job, you're connecting the wrong drinks to the wrong people, and you might have amazing drinks, you know, and you might have amazing drinks for everyone in the bar, but if they're all mixed up and everyone's got the wrong drink, the menu has failed, or you have failed at talking people through the menu. So like there's a whole psychology there that I think is not always considered really well, you know, like people just list ingredients. Like,
I like most people will probably, in our industry, will probably approach it that, not that I did wrong, but all the guests are wrong.
Yeah, for not knowing what a mer picon is. Or
or choosing, for choosing the wrong cocktails. Like, why did you pick it? I like apples.
Because I don't know half of the things on the menu. And then the other thing is like some bars, or some bartenders, including like, you know, some people I've worked with, like they're like, but you know, they can just ask me if they have a question. I'll tell you right away, like 80% of people don't want to ask you a question about the menu. I never ask questions about menus. No. Like I know probably more than the average person about a bar menu specifically, but if I don't know what something is, I'll either skip it or I'll chance it, and my palate's pretty wild anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And if I chance it, I'm gonna
make sure that it's fine. Yeah. I'll be like, okay, that's fine. I chose it. I didn't know what it was, and now I found out. Yeah, so it is what it is. But not everyone's like that. You know, some people will be like upset that it doesn't taste like strawberries like they expected it to. All right, let's switch to agave, man, because that's a fun topic.
It is.
So you and Mia went to Mexico a while ago. That you created the tequila trip that we still do, the tequila expedition. You handed it over to me. I've now handed it over to someone else. So
I'm really keen on
going again,
handing it back. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it, man. Let's talk.
At least once a year, I should.
I think we can make that work, man.
Let's make it work.
Yeah. You're still in the video, so I think some people like to see you. I asked you that time, but you weren't. I don't think we could quite make it work, but for sure we're gonna make it work.
Let's do it.
And they're busy now, huh? They're good. Yeah. They're like we do. Like I think we've got 16 for October. We trimmed it down to like I think we said 18 max because that's the size of a van that can get down the small roads in
Pancho's biggest van is for 18 people.
Exactly. So but we've got like 2 a year we're doing now, the tequila expedition, like and I think we got 16 for October, and we'll do it again in April. So it's always like October, April. That's kind of how it's working at the moment.
I would love to. And as far as I know, I'm still welcome in the country of Mexico. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything different.
You're definitely still welcome on the tequila expeditions. And,
cool.
Mexico will let you in for. If you get banned from Mexico, man, you did something proper.
Yeah, and I haven't done anything bad.
Yeah.
The opposite. I've done a lot of good stuff.
So I want to know from you, like, so you and me, I think we went to Mexico together. I mean, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, whatever it was. Before that, when was your first sort of like trip into a agave, or like it would have been a trip to Mexico, I imagine, when you fell in love with the spirit, because you have to be in the country, I feel. Yeah.
But it started before that. When I started, before we started the bartending school, I started lecturing for real, so to speak. I did. I was working at the Hilton Hotel in Malmö in southern Sweden, and we had this huge back bar, and it kind of stressed me that us in the staff didn't really have a clue about most of the bottles in the back bar. So I took it upon myself to teach everyone, and myself included. So I wrote down every single bottle we had in the back bar, even like every different flavor of liqueurs, because that was in the day and age where you stuck to one liqueur brand and you bought every flavor. So all bars had like kiwi liqueur, banana liqueur, and so on. And June bug wasn't a thing then, so we never used the banana liqueur. Mezcal June bug is a thing. Remember that? Remember I heard it first. Anywho, so I wrote down all the bottles we had, and I wrote what category it was, the alcohol, the raw material, flavor, and then 1, 2, 3 SKUs or like fun facts of each. So it was a pretty heavy research work, and internet wasn't as spread as it was today, so it took some time, but I did that and did a little session for the staff. And about that time, so I started reading up on tequila, because we had a couple of like crafted tequilas then, like the first ones in Sweden. This was like in 2005, I think. 2005 or 2006. No, it must be 2005. I did this. And then I got really interesting. I thought it was like interesting tequila, because everyone knew tequila back then, but no one really knew it. Everybody knew about tequila or knew it existed and knew how to drink it with salt and lemon and as a shot, and you feel hungover and makes you dance. That's what people knew. And also started tasting more. And like, there is something special. And I got this at one of those wholesaler fairs in Sweden. We have like 3 main wholesalers who supply spirits and most food items and most of everything to restaurants, and they do fairs. So I went to one of those fairs, and I got this little booklet on tequila. It's like maybe 5 pages. So reading on it, like really true tequila. It's like, wow, this is really interesting. So that kind of like planted a seed. And then when I started lecturing, I thought tequila was the most fun to talk about. And about the time we started bartending school, me and another friend started my first consultancy company, or our first consultancy company. So we did some brand works, and we wanted to do something like on our own, like non-branded, and to show people that we're around. We do exist now. And so we invited a guy named Matthias Latai, who was then bar manager at a bar in London called Green and Red Cantina, which was Jalisco. They only cook Jalisco food. They only had tequila in the bar, like literally only tequila. And then we gathered all crafted tequila available in Sweden. So we did and then we invited bartenders. So I think we did 3 sessions in Stockholm, 1 in Gothenburg, and 2 in Copenhagen with Matthias on a little tequila tour. So tasting, and he talked, and he had been in Mexico, and he was literal tequila expert. And when I listened to him and I got to taste all these different 100% agave tequilas and crafted tequilas, it really like blew my mind. And then it was this importer called Elia Smith, who only worked with tequila and mezcal, only Mexican products. They were part of this, sponsoring with bottles. And for them to be part, they also gave me an education called the Tequila Maestro, which is like a three-day course. So I took that course, and the more I learned, the more intrigued I was. So I really like, okay, tequila is for me. And also, no one cared about tequila in Sweden then, not even bartenders. And mezcal, no one even talked about mezcal. So I also found like a gap. Like here I can find something that is mine, or for me to explore my own, because first I had a little thing for Scottish whiskey, but there were so many experts, and everyone was trying to school you. And then I kind of discovered or got an interest in rum. It's like, rum is pretty interesting, but same there, like the whiskey people always start venturing into rum, and it was something that didn't really caught on. I like rum, and I like the history and everything, the production and so on, but it wasn't like, I didn't feel it in the same way. But tequila I can explore this by myself. There's no one who can like tell me this or that, and it can really be for me by me. And then I went to Mexico on an organized tequila trip, kind of like the trips we are organizing now. And that's when all the pieces like aligned. Everything just aligned when I like I told you in the beginning, when I first stepped into that closed bar on my very first shift, I knew what I was going to do. I found some kind of inner peace when I went into a bar. And it was the same thing again. I found like, okay, now I know what I need to do for the rest of my life. In one way or another, tequila is going to be part of me forever. I don't want to do anything else. This is all I want to do. I can do other stuff as well, but I need to do this. More like a call, almost. And I don't know. It is on a. It sounds a bit weird, but it really is on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
And the first time, I still remember when we came in with a little minibus to that distillery, and I jumped out of the minibus and I saw these piles of agave piñas, and I'd never seen an agave before. Yeah. And I saw all these agave piñas, and I like touched them, and it's like it was fucking magic. Yeah. And I found I am pretty like stressed. I always have like this stress inside of me, but whenever I'm in Mexico, I get calm, and especially out in the agave. You know how they have like support animals, and animals can have that effect on people, like they make you calm. Agave literally does that for me. And I talked to other like
you on a plane with a with an agave, like this is my support agave.
Yeah. And I talk to other people who are like me, who like have a neck for agave spirits, and we share a lot of like similar stories. So everything just aligned when I first went to Mexico, and then I've been working more and more with it, and then I started working for that tequila company, Alegre Smith, and I took over and was the head teacher and running the tequila maestro education in Sweden or in Europe, and I started organizing trips to Mexico on my own. So yeah, I don't know. It is this like pretty used saying that you don't find mezcal, mezcal finds you, but there really is something to it.
Yeah. What do you think it is that makes it special? Like when you go there,
I don't know. It is honestly, it is on a spiritual level. So I don't really know, but I always try to break it down. But I think one thing is that it is so well known, but still so unknown. Yeah. And it's still so alive in many ways, especially like with the whole mezcal thing and what comes after mezcals, like the Raicillas, the Sotols and lechuguillas and so on. It's still so alive. You can still find your little shard of the greater agave spirit universe and make it yours. Yeah. And also, I mean, of course, agave spirits is the spirits world that I've been traveling the most in, but I've been traveling a bit with rum, with Scottish whiskey, with other European spirits and wine and so on. But I still haven't found anything that still is so tightly linked to not only a country, but to the people and the history and the heritage as agave spirits are to Mexico. It is, I mean, of course, if you go to Islay in Scotland, of course, everything breathes Scottish malt whiskey, but it's also so industrialized in one way. It's about life, but it's not about life and death. Yeah. But with tequila, it's and the agave itself, because also like
this is something which I feel like quite strongly, because I think about this sometimes. Like I ponder it, and the thing which sets agave spirits apart. I mean, apart from many things, is like it's really the only spirit that has a recognizable terroir and varietals which really matter. Like the difference between a Tobalar and an Espadin and a Madraquiche, and no one can tell you two different types of barley or two different types of sugarcane or like they could do grapes for sure, but But even
But
when you
not in the
drink
same-
brandy or cognac, like
not
no
in the
one's
same
mentioning
way.
the grapes, because the grapes actually don't hold up that well to
No.
the distillation
No,
process.
and exactly, because it's about the agave. It's not really about the tequila or the distillation or the mezcal. It's about the agave.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, no one talks about barley on Alegre. They talk about whiskey,
No,
but they don't talk about barley.
The relative thing there, which is kind of why I also like I also feel a little bit of a connection with Islay, is like what you do drink when you drink Islay is you have a geographically specific peat. It's not the barley, but it's the drying method that actually you do taste the land, and I do like that about Islay as well.
Yeah.
But it's like 5% of what you get from mezcal.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just it's weird, and I also think you need to go there. You can understand it to a certain. That goes for everything, of course. You won't understand the Italian aperitivo culture before you actually are in aperitivo country. So, but that said, you don't really get it until you're there, because it is rare. It is unique, and I've seen it like. Some parts of the rum world is still alive in that sense, but it's so small piece of the greater rum world. Whilst in the agave world, it really is for real and everywhere, in a completely unique way.
Yeah.
And also you can see even like tequileros who are not even are tequileros anymore, because they're business owners, they're businessmen and women who do this as for business, but they still become like little children when they are around agave.
Yeah.
And I remember he is real though, but Guillermo, who has Tequila Fortaleza, the first time we were traveling together in Europe, we were in Paris, and we were walking in the middle of the night going home from a bar, and we were of course drunk, and all of a sudden Guillermo just stops and was like turn around to see why he stopped, and he's standing like this looking into a window to a flower shop, and he says, I'm just gonna see if there's an agave in there maybe. So like even him, a grown-ass businessman, is still such an agave geek that he stops pissed drunk in Paris to look into the window of a flower shop to see if he can find an agave. Because everyone's an agave geek. And I think that's pretty. It was a special moment for me. It's like, this is for real.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like, because I find like I see agaves everywhere where it's hot enough to grow an agave. Like I just see like, you know, like I live in Mallorca, when you drive down the highway, you see quixotes just dying on the side of the highway, and I'm like, agave. I can't stop myself.
No,
I'm like, look, agave. And
once
like,
your agave
like,
radar,
what are you talking about?
Once your agave radar is turned on, you can't stop it. I see it everywhere. I have a collection of like screenshots and shit where I find agave that don't belong, so to speak. And I talk about it sometimes when I do my lectures, like my top 3 or top 5 agaves I want to harvest and make mezcal from. And like we found agave in Disneyland in Orlando in Florida. I found agave in as an ornamental plant in the Vatican to do some holy fucking empire mezcal. I found it in
holy mezcal.
One of my son's video games, one of the Lego video games, they have agaves there to highlight that this is a desert, so it's agaves. And as you say, you see it all over. I was last night I was starting rewatching Narcos, the Netflix series. I was watching Narcos Mexico, so of course you're going to see agave because you're in Mexico. But in like one of the first scenes, Felix is just driving along the highway. They're driving to Guadalajara. And I have no idea what they talk about in this scene, because through the car window I see the driving past agaves, like agaves.
Which is classic Guadalajara. There's agave everywhere.
So it makes sense, but
monuments and statues.
But normal people, they would not notice the fucking plants out along the road outside of the car. They would listen to what are they talking about here, the conversation in the car. But I love when you see a like-minded agave creature, you know, then all you see is agaves.
I mean, something I feel when I go to Mexico, and I think it's slightly different in Jalisco than it is in Oaxaca. It feels a bit more developed and a bit more business, but you say, like, you do see that culture still in some people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think of Eduardo from Eduardo Orendane from Arete. You know, like he's clearly a businessman, but you see that his family has been in.
Yeah, and he's even more than a businessman. He's a politician. He used to be. You know, he used to be the mayor of the town of Tequila when he was like 24, and he's. This is also my best claim to fame, you know, and I think we talked about this sometime, but you know the what's it called? 5 Steps to Kevin Bacon or whatever it's called, that game.
Oh yeah.
Eduardo Orendane, and now I'm gonna give it to you. I'm 3 steps away from Obama because Eduardo, when he was the mayor of, and since he's also politically involved, he knows the former president of Mexico. Vicente Fox, and Vicente Fox was president in Mexico during the same period as Obama was president of the United States.
Yeah.
So they know each other. So I know Eduardo knows Vicente knows Obama.
Okay.
Now
so you're also 3 steps from Donald Trump as well.
Yes. I don't brag as much about that. But yes, so Eduardo...
but Vicente Fox is a legend. Like, didn't he tell Trump to go fuck himself or something on like camera? Like, I'm sure he said like...
Probably. But that said, he is a politician, he is a businessman, but he's still, what mattered the most to him is horses and agave.
Yeah.
Still. Because everyone's an agave geek.
Yeah, he looks like a proper caballero.
Yeah, they love their horses. Yeah. That's why they have a little arete horse. On
the but then you go to Oaxaca and like you get this like totally different vibe. Like when you go to the palenques, and the palenqueros are just like, you ask them questions that you like, you know, like maybe the first time you go, you ask them kind of like geeky sort of mezcal or production questions, and they're always just like, I don't know, man.
No.
And you're like, what do you mean? Like, you know, like, what do you distill to? I don't know. I just do it how my dad did it, and he did it how his dad did it, and it just comes out perfect, you know? Like, I just kind of feel it out, and then you start like relaxing. Oh, these guys just like, you realize there's no office here, there's no paper, there's not even really a building. Like, it's just kind of a hut with a thing, and they're perfectly happy. Yeah. They drink from.
Thank you.
What's the camates? What are the
jicaras.
The jicaras, they drink from like jicaras from the ground, fruit. Like just drinking mezcal, and you're like, this is like another level of relax. Like, it's real. So relaxed, like, and these guys are so real, and they're so welcoming. Yeah, it's like, and that's the moment for me when I was like, oh, okay, like now I'm like, I feel a deeper connection.
Yeah,
and now every time I drink a mezcal, I'm like, some part of me is taken back there to a special moment. Yeah, you know, which
it is very special. It really takes you back every time. And sometimes when you get like a really nice mezcal, just the nose of it takes you back. And like I get dreamy a lot of times when I get like a really proper mezcal to try. Like everything else disappears and it gets quiet in my head for a little time.
What's your
Cheers.
What's your preference? Like, I don't want to say preference between tequila and mezcal. I know you wouldn't probably choose, but like, what do you see the differences as? Do you think tequila is just a mezcal that uses blue agave, or is it something else?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I like to talk about mezcal more than I like to talk about tequila in one way, because there's so much to talk about.
Variety.
Yeah. But I like, if I were to end up in that horrible place that I can only drink one of them for the rest of my life, I would choose tequila. I would.
Why?
Because I just like tequila better.
Okay.
I think tequila is so delicious, and I think once you're digging into it, you actually do find a great variety within tequilas as well. Not as deep as mezcal, of course, but no, I just like tequila. But yeah, I mean, historically and traditionally, tequila is a type of mezcal. That's how it started. But once mezcal got its own designation of origin, you can't say that tequila is a mezcal anymore, because I like that we have designation of origin and laws and so on, and I do understand that by creating that, you also close out people and you get collateral damage to it, because yesterday you could call your spirit tequila and now you can't, or you could call it mezcal, now you can't. I do get that, but I do see that as it's a casualty that
A
you
necessary
get.
casualty,
So I do like and support regulations as long as it's done fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, historically, tequila is a mezcal. Legally, it's not.
Yeah.
Tequila is tequila, mezcal is mezcal.
Yeah.
That makes it a bit tricky.
Uh-huh.
But I do get it. And also, it's really hard. You can't talk about tequila without talking about mezcal. It's impossible because the history.
Yeah.
It's the same history. And the way I see it, there would be no tequila without mezcal. I think everyone is, we can agree on that.
We can agree on that.
But the way I see it, there wouldn't be no mezcal of today without tequila either. Because if the tequila didn't lead the way, and crafted tequila and the interest for tequila that we see now, if that never happened, no one would care about mezcal today as we are. So I think tequila actually helped mezcal of today to rejuvenate it, to shed some light on it again, because we must not forget, not that long ago, they had a lot of problems in Oaxaca with people moving away from Oaxaca because there were no future. Like the families of the mezcaleros, there were no future because no one was buying mezcal. No one cared about mezcal. And this is, we're not talking hundreds of years ago. We're talking about 20 years ago. But due to Mexico, a lot of different Mexican cultural thing came on vogue again, but tequila being one of them, being popularized again. And people start caring about tequila, both like premium, high-end, expensive makeup stuff, but also crafted tequila. That increased the interest for mezcal, and now we see the younger generation coming back to Oaxaca again, and carrying on the family legacy of being mezcal producers, because now there actually is a future in producing mezcal again, and that's really important, and that's really cool, and that I don't see that happen if it wasn't for tequila.
No.
So I think tequila has played an important role for mezcal. But to me, I mean, they are related. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. But I prefer, if I must choose, I would probably drink tequila instead of mezcal. But then again, I mean, of course, it's more interesting to drink mezcal.
Yeah, I think, for me, like, maybe mezcal is like the wild cousin that's not been tamed as much and honed, whereas tequila is like it's been one agave for 150 years or whatever.
And I mean, tequila is an industry. It's small, but still is an industry. Mezcal is not an industry.
Yeah, it's like a cottage. It's like a cottage industry, but like So like speaking about that, like, you know, maybe I don't really have the figures, so maybe I'm just thinking about anecdotal evidence, but I just see such a boom in mezcal, and I know there is like definitely a boom, but what can the industry handle? What can this small cottage industry of a few thousand very small distillers using mostly wild agave, what can they actually handle in terms of what the world is demanding from them now?
I mean, we can't handle way more than we are, I think.
It's kind of, I mean, it must be maxing out. And
we just need to find a different approach to it, and we need to take a new approach, because we can't handle it as we did when tequila started to become a big thing. That I don't see. We need to carry it in another way.
Yeah.
And finding other ways, but I mean, we can increase the production massively, I think, because I mean, there's still a lot of small palenqueros and small producers who don't sell as much as they produce. So there are a lot of mezcals. We just need to take another approach to it than streamline everything. There will be, and there already is, like a couple of streamlined producers making like bulk mezcal, so to speak. But I don't think we can have...
Mostly espadín.
Yeah, because it ripens fast and it's easy to grow. But I don't. But I mean, at the same time, we can increase that as well, and I think that's gonna help the little producers to have at least a couple of fully industrialized mezcal factories.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of land in Oaxaca, so I think it is possible to grow a lot.
Yeah.
We just need to do it carefully and respectfully, and we need to separate the industry and the crafted, so to speak, the small scale. And I think they actually can live side by side. I mean, look at wine. You have like bulk wine producers, and you have small who make amazing expressful wines.
Yeah, but wine has been a staple of, I mean, wine has a religious background for thousands of years.
So has mezcal.
Okay, in the Western world where the market is, you know.
But
and also wine grows in 1 year. I mean, vines don't necessarily mature in 1 year, but the responsiveness of supply and demand in the mezcal industry is a lot slower.
I mean, if we are going to limit ourselves to wild agaves, yes, then there is an obvious limit.
This was my other point. Is like, you know, like let's take the wine analogy. You can cultivate any grape. All grapes are cultivated. No one's making wild grape wine. Maybe there is, but like, let's say it's less than 0.1%.
Yeah.
So those, you know, like I don't worry. It's not gonna keep me up at night. But if our expansion is all based in Espadin to account for the demand, doesn't that take away the beauty of the variety? Because for me, it's the agave I'm ordering.
Not the way I see it, because the cultivated Espadin that's what's going to lead the way and make more opportunities to work and make money for a lot of people and get more people to discover mezcal. And once they discovered it and want to dig deeper, then you have the small scale, small batch stuff for you to buy.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they can and should coexist. Yeah. One doesn't cancel out the other. And if you take instead of rum, for example, like take Jamaican rum, you have the mega facility who produce like heavy volumes. And that's what people refer to as rum from Jamaica. But it is honestly pretty generic rum. And then if you want to dig deeper, you have the Worthy Park, or you have like this few small distilleries who make like crafted, funky, weird, true Jamaican rum as well. So I think more that kind of setup. I'm not scared of the big producers, and we have it a bit in tequila as well. You have the maybe five big dragon producers who stand for the majority of all tequila sold, produced, and marketed. And they lead the way for small craft producers like Cascawin or Calle 23 and so on. Yeah. There's no problem there. So I think...
Who are those five now?
I would say, Cuervo, Sauza, Patron, Herradura, and Don Roberto. Who is the Don Roberto brand is not that big, but production-wise, they are the biggest.
With a bigger market in Mexico than external?
No, but they make bulk. That's what they make.
They make bulk for a lot of smaller producers.
For not the smaller producers, but also for the big producers. And then, Olmeca, of course, is also one of the big ones.
Yeah.
It's huge.
You also make Altos, right?
Yeah.
And maybe some other stuff?
Yeah, some other local...
Yeah.
What do you call it? This is the name for it. Value brands. Good value brands. I like that.
Yeah.
And we also make these good value brands. So you make bulk shit to sell at gas stations? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the discussion, and especially when it's discussed by people from the outside, like myself, we always corner ourselves into discussions like one cannot exist without the other. And I think that's a wrong approach to the whole discussion. Like, just because you have a few big producers, that doesn't cancel the small. The small can still be around. And also, like, the bigger the cake is, the bigger the crumbs get.
Yeah.
And the small will always get the crumbs.
Yeah, for sure. For anyone who wants to explore differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can, but yes, if we were to see like a Cuervo Sausa Patron in the mezcal world and they were only working with wild agaves, yeah, then we would be in the shit.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be interested in doing that.
No.
Why would they?
Yeah, you can't mechanize it. Doesn't scale.
No, right? No. You can't scale.
Yeah.
So they can do the espadins and have limited editions and so on.
And I've met, I've met a bunch of mezcaleros and they don't want to do anything apart from just make mezcal.
Yeah.
And that there's a part of the business which is marketing and distribution, which is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
That the big brands just they build the roads that everybody else can drive on.
Yeah, right.
Like without them, a little like mezcal brand, without Pernod Ricard, all those little what are they called? You worked for them, Del Margue.
Yeah, the Del Margue.
Yeah, all those like single village mezcals from Del Margue are getting nowhere. So
right.
They definitely opened the doors.
Yeah, and I think that's a good, to me that's a good thing. So I'm not scared or like hesitant to the growth as long as it's done in a proper way. And now when they changed the legal framework for mezcal in, when was it, 2016, 17, 18, somewhere. Now it's even better for the small, because now they categorized mezcal in mezcal. You can use whatever production method you like. It's a mezcal. And then you have artisanal if you use more crafted or handcrafted methods. And then you have ancestral if you use even more crafted methods.
Yeah.
There you have
clay pots still.
Yeah, clay pots and animal hides and stuff.
Yeah.
There you have it. Then you know what to look for.
Yeah.
If you want something really weird or true, so to speak.
If it says ancestral on the bottle, you can be pretty sure that like it's not a huge factory like owned by Diageo or something. Yeah. Well, do you think? So speaking of that, do you think there's a disparity on where the money goes? Because sometimes like I think about like am I the relatively affluent white Westerner sat in a mezcal bar enjoying a mezcal, and it's like, is my like 18 euros a shot? How much of that is getting back to a mezcalero?
Ooh,
because I would like for it to be more than half, but I'm pretty sure it. Do you see that as an issue?
I mean, it is an issue, and we can never know for sure. But I mean, it's better now. Like in the beginning, the very beginning of what was to become the mezcal boom. Like when we started working with mezcal in like 2007-8. That's when it started. Like when the seed first started, you saw the first or the second wave of brands, because first was Del Margue and nothing.
Yeah.
And then when the second wave of brand came, like Brujo and Real Minero and Los Danzantes and those brands, there were a lot of like the newer brands that popped up then who kind of took advantage of the producers, because they were used to selling nothing, and then someone comes and buys like a full batch, like a couple 100 liters, and they paid like $1 a liter, which was a lot of money for them. But pretty soon they realized, wait a minute, so what I sold you for $1, you then sold for like $30-40, and all you did was bottling it. The next time someone came down, a foreigner, or someone from the outside came down trying to buy mezcal, the price has gone up. So in one way, the price increase in mezcal was pretty insane, but it was insane for the right reasons in many ways. So to try to answer the questions, you may never know, we may never know exactly how much each are getting paid, but and I don't even want to go so far to say that if you buy crafted small scale, then they get paid more fairly, because I don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know. So it's hard to tell, but they are getting paid more now than they were before. And a lot of the smaller brand owners and the first, second, and third wave of brand owners has spent a lot of time educating the people how to make business.
Yeah.
Not put them through business school or anything, but just the basic foundations in like, okay, but I know you need money now, but you need to also just do a rough estimation of how many hours you spent making this, how much you spent on fuel for your still, and how much you spent on buying the agave and so on and so on. You need to just count that and add a little extra, and we're good. So now more of them know. And also when the younger generation start coming back to Oaxaca, they come back with proper education from like universities in Guadalajara, in Mexico City, and in the US and in Europe even. So they also learned and come in with a like more modern view of it.
Even literacy, right? Like I know like some of the older folks in Oaxaca, there's not that high literacy rates.
No. That's also true. So things have changed and they're getting paid more now. So I want to think that it's as fair as it can be. But I mean, there will always be assholes.
But I think that there's some level of protection there, as far as I know, in that there's geographical protections for areas, towns, certain mountains and fields for natives of that land, right? Like, you know, so I think like at least to that degree, you haven't got big, you know, European or American companies coming in and just buying up land and just farming agave themselves. They have to go to a mezcalero to make. I mean, even if they did that, they wouldn't have the skills or the knowledge to make something great anyway.
A lot of the states are protected in that way by the forest and national forest administrations and so on, forest and land administration. So the lands are protected, and through that, of course, the people to some extent as well. But that's also one thing that makes mezcal so interesting, that we get to be part of a new spirit category being born, kind of. Even though it was there before, we must not forget that it was there before, but as a commercial product, we've been there since day one, pretty much. This would have been the equivalence of being like part of the rum industry before the Bacardi family started commercializing, or before the Brugal rum started commercializing the industry. And that is also one thing that I think triggers a lot of people and makes it like cool, because you actually are part of something bigger. And you can actually make a difference. Yeah. Like and I'm not saying this, I'm just to bash, I just use Bacardi as an example. If I were to start pouring Bacardi now like this for the rest of my life, it wouldn't really make a difference for a single person. It will make a difference for the company maybe, and for the importer in Sweden maybe, but not for a real person. But if every single shot of crafted mezcal that I pour actually makes a difference for a real person and his or her family, and that's really cool. Cheers.
Oh, what are we drinking, by the way? Sorry.
We're drinking.
It tastes what I've been trying to my mind's flipping between like fermented apple juice, like a cider, and then there's like beer notes. I don't know. Oh, there's vinegar. I don't know what's going on, man. You've confused the hell out of me with this one.
Yeah, it's a drink that I actually pretty much stole from now defunct bar in New York City that I really liked, called Blacktail.
I remember Blacktail.
Yeah. Did we go there together? No. Have we ever been?
Have we been in New York together?
I'm not sure. Anyway,
I feel we have.
Yeah, I think we have too. Anywho, we've been to Miami together, I know.
Oh, yeah. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Anywho. But they celebrated the old tourism between Cuba and the US. So it was like a Cuban-style rum bar. And as I said in the beginning, I'm part of a team now opening a new Mexican restaurant called Mexico in Stockholm. And we open the next week when we record this. So in the late September 2024, we're going to open. So I made a cocktail program and a cocktail menu. And I wanted to take like the few famous or spread tequila cocktails there are. Put them on the menu, but make a little riff on each. But like for instance, the Paloma, instead of just tequila, lime, grapefruit soda, we added guava. So it's a Paloma guayaba. So if you want a regular Paloma, you're still going to be comfortable drinking this. But if you want to explore something new, you're still going to like this. That was like the idea. And of course, we need to include a Batanga, tequila, lime, Coca-Cola, and salt. So I took the Cuba Libre that they had on Blacktail and made it into a tequila mezcal version. So it's tequila, a little bit of mezcal, Coca-Cola syrup, some fresh lime juice, and sparkling wine.
It's the sparkling wine.
Yeah, it's the sparkling wine that fucks it up. Yeah. Or not fucks it up in a bad way.
But yeah,
it's a lot of sparkling wine here.
Yeah.
So that's the Batanga Alegre, as we call it on the Mexican bar we're opening. So it's a Batanga riff.
Yeah.
Because now Batanga is actually spread. Before it was pretty fun.
Yeah, so you basically reduced Coke to a syrup and then replaced the dilution with sparkling wine.
Yeah, and here we reduced it, but what I also learned from the team at Blacktail, because they were experimenting a lot with making the perfect Coca-Cola syrup, until one of them realized that, what are we doing? Coca-Cola actually sell their own syrup. You can't make Coca-Cola better than Coca-Cola, because all those, when you have those pistols or the guns, the soda guns, the soda fountains, it's just a syrup.
Yeah, and it's cheap.
It's
cheap, and it comes in 20-liter bags.
And it not only tastes like concentrated Coca-Cola, it is concentrated Coca-Cola. Yeah. So that's what we're using at Mexico. It's genius. You just open the bag, repack it in smaller packs, and you're done.
Yeah, it's the best. If you can get it, like some I know, like when I was living in Australia, like that would have been, you would have needed a deal with Coca-Cola to be able to even get the bag in box. But
yeah, we have that deal.
That's a different animal.
Then I'm not sure that Coca-Cola wants us to do, so I'm probably gonna regret telling this story here. We found out.
Coca-Cola won't watch this.
No, it would be cool if they did though.
Yeah, imagine Coca-Cola come after you.
Yeah. But it's a nice drink, and I like how the Batanga now is. I'm not saying it's a very popular drink, because people still frown upon tequila and Coke, but it's getting there, and people, as you said, it's known, and it's also funny that all those bartenders who've been to the town of Tequila and been to La Capilla and tried a Batanga and then think it's like a big Mexican thing, and they go to any other bar anywhere in Mexico, try to order a Batanga, and it's like, what? No, I don't know no Batanga, because they're only served in La Capilla. Now it's spread, because now we have modern cocktail bars and more bars popping up in Mexico as well. But back then, like 15 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 years ago even, it was you could only get a Batanga. You can only order a Batanga at La Capilla in Mexico or any other craft cocktail bar outside of Mexico.
Yeah.
We made it big.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Don Javier. He was cool.
Yeah. But I even saw, like, even they when I went to La Capilla, like, and I went with maybe 15 people and bought Batangas, and I think I did the same with you and with a couple of other groups that I took through Mexico, and they always look like, this is weird, like they look like dumbfounded that people are ordering like 15 Batangas. They're like a little like hole in the wall bar, and
because people also expect like a cocktail bar or tequila bar.
It's
like, a hole in the wall.
It's so far from a cocktail bar. They're like, apart from the Batanga, they do beers and shots.
Yeah, and palomas.
Yeah.
And also,
do they do palomas? I didn't even know.
Yeah, they do. That's why a lot of people think that Don Javier also invented the Paloma, which he says, no, I didn't. He always said that because, but all of us, we discovered the Paloma through La Capilla, and then we took it from there, spread it, and now it's like a global phenomenon. I was at Sips last night and sat at one of those community tables, and the company next to me were two American tourists, and next to them, between us, was this Australian tourist, and the three of them were talking. I'm Swedish, so I don't talk to strangers, as you know.
Yeah.
So they were talking, I was just listening. But they were talking about the Paloma, like, yeah, I'm so surprised it has become this thing now when we travel around in Europe. The Americans said, like, we see Palomas everywhere. We have it in Australia as well. It's like, yeah, it's a big thing. And I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, this is so cool for me to airdropping that, knowing that when we started promoting Palomas, no one had even heard of it. And it makes me also, it's such a cool feeling to know that I've been part of cocktail history. Because Paloma is, no one literally knew the Paloma before. I got it from Matthias when we did a tequila workshop, because he had been at La Capilla. And then I started including it in all my tequila and cocktail sessions at my bar school, and all the brand works I did, I always included the Paloma. And now it's everywhere, in not only Sweden, but in the world. And it's even so big that Absolute Vodka made a canned cocktail called the Absolute Paloma, which is insane, both from the perspective how big a tequila cocktail a couple of bartenders found made in a fucking hole in the wall in Tequila Town in Mexico like 20 years ago. But also how it's so big, so they remove one of the constant variables, the tequila, add vodka and grapefruit. When they already is a salty dog, and Absolute made their own riff on the salty dog together with Swedish House Mafia called the Greyhound. You already have 2 vodka and grapefruit drinks, but now you took the tequila drink. I always think when I hear people talk about the Paloma and the Batanga, I always think like, yeah, we come a long way.
Yeah.
We come a long way.
Yeah, when vodka needs to be riding the wave of a tequila drink, you're like, oh shit, like that's not how it used to be.
And I know that offends a lot of people like me, but to me, it's just I get proud of it. It's like, this is fucking awesome.
It's cool.
We come a long way.
People just do cool shit, like whatever. Like do stuff. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like if they're doing something a bit like I don't know, like whether you would call it inauthentic, or they're trying to find an angle or whatever. It's like, let them do it, man. Like, like they'll have their time in the sun, and if it's not good, it'll all come out in the wash at some point.
The way I see it's an homage to where we've come, because trust me, no one cared about tequila and mezcal. Not even 15 years ago when I started doing it, no one cared. And I think that's also a cool thing about where we are now with the tequila industry, that if I look at other things that's been booming and gone from like a bartender's handshake to become like a commodity, like if you take rum. So now rum is more popular than ever. You can find crazy selection of rum. You have the big brands, but you can also find like independent bottling, like really cool stuff, and you can find straight from the distillery, like really small scale, cool, so many different varieties of rum. And daiquiris and mojitos are everywhere. And that started, and the small artisanal producers got their fair share of the market as well. But all that is because mainly Havana Club and Bacardi started putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into marketing.
Yeah.
And they wanted people to drink daiquiris and mojitos so they could sell more rum.
Yeah.
And that led to the whole crafted rum scene exploding and becoming a huge thing. And like all the whiskey clubs are now whiskey and rum clubs, and all the whiskey fairs are now whiskey and rum fairs, and you have rum fairs. But all started with big industry giants.
Yeah.
Putting equity in it.
And people love to talk shit about the big boys always, right?
Yeah.
Everyone always loves the underdog, and as soon as the underdog becomes successful, then people start talking shit.
Exactly. But if we look at the tequila industry, it's started the other way around, because it all started from the grassroots when people like Julio Bermejo out of Tommy's in San Francisco, and when Thomas Estes with the Café Pacifico in Amsterdam and London and Paris, and Phil Bailey down in Australia, and later on with what Dre and Henry, may he also rest in perfect harmony, when they started Green and Red and started promoting it within the London bar community, And then the second wave with Carl and the guys who took over Green and Red as a management team and bar team, and now has Barking Dog in Copenhagen, which started as a cocktail but now it's a mezcaleria pretty much. And then Matthias and Steph and the guys who then taught me or showed me the way, how it started with them having no money, no really platform or anything, or no like marketing power in that sense, but it started with their passion and them normal hardworking bartenders falling in love with Mexican spirits and promoting it and building it from the grassroots. And then the big brands saw what was going on. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we can monetize on this, we can profit on this. And as soon as the followers of the grassroots had become big enough, then they started pounding money in. Sure enough, Patron, they helped a lot. And as you said, people love to bash on the big guys, and it's a lot of shots are been taken at Patron, but Patron has helped us a lot. Because they also like, okay, there were also two guys fell in love with tequila. We're gonna make the best tequila there is. So we're gonna start marketing the best tequila there is. And sure, the story is a bit vague and it is a bit shady. It is like the real origin. But that doesn't matter to where we are today.
Not many people get to like a 5 billion valuation without a bit of shadiness.
Yeah, right.
Some shady.
Yeah, we all have shit we don't want to come out.
Dig deep on any billionaire. You'll find some.
Dig deep on any one of us. You know. You know.
Not me. I'm squeaky clean.
Yeah. Me too. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about you.
All the other people. All you people.
No, you people are cool. But you know, they helped a lot, and they also started from pretty much nothing. But besides them, like, no one invested in money. Sure enough, Sierra in Europe and Cuervo and South, of course, they spent a lot of money doing like parties, but it was tequila shots and frozen margaritas. Flavored frozen margaritas. But that was what it was, and it is what it is. But they started talking about authenticity, started talking about Mexico even. And realness and all that came from us. And once we had grown enough, now the money is coming in. And I think that's really a really cool thing, that it actually came from us, from the regular people, from the grassroots, and grew to the point that the big brands started investing. And also that, of course, also led to we see more and more new brands coming in now, because they want a piece of the pie, like we saw with the vodka boom after Grey Goose got sold to Bacardi. After that got sold, everybody wanted a share of to be the next Absolute or be the next Grey Goose. And then we saw the same thing with the gin boom. Like, what was it? I think Simon Ford once told, like in, I don't know, 2021 or 2 or something, there were like more than 300 new gin brands, more than 360 new gin brands founded in 1 year. So it's one new gin brand each day of the year. Of course, they're not going to survive. Everybody just want a piece of the pie. And that's what we see in tequila, and that's what we see in mezcal now. And that's, to me, that says something. That says that we've come a long way. And more people can actually make a living out of mezcal. And since the Mexican agave spirit industry still is so alive and so well spread within the country, there's still so much to explore. We started with tequila, and then now we see mezcal. I'm not saying mezcal is industrialized, but it is a commodity. Regular, normal bar guests have heard about mezcal. They know there is a thing called mezcal. They a lot of the times know it's somehow related to tequila, but at least they know there is a thing called mezcal. So it is something. And now we see Sotol starting being marketed now. We have like at least one global brand from Casa Lumbres and my friend Ricardo and Lenny Kravitz. And it's the juice is properly produced by Don Lalo, who is like the forefather of all sotelleros today in Chihuahua, has first-hand or second-hand learned how to produce Sotol pretty much from him. So he's producing the Noche Luna Sotol, but it is a global brand of Sotol. And we see Raicilla got its own designation of origin not that long ago, maybe in 2016, roughly that time. So there's still so much to explore.
Maybe you can give us a quick breakdown on the difference between Mezcal, Raicilla, and Sotol.
So Mezcal, all of them are protected with rules and legislations and a designation of origin. So Mezcal can be produced in...
Include tequila in there as well.
Yeah, and tequila, of course. So tequila, what separates them mainly is the raw material, what kind of agave, or in Sotol's case, what kind of plant you use, and where you produce it. So tequila has 5 states, and you can only use blue agave. And Mezcal has, I think now it's 10 states, but it's growing. A couple of new states were added just a couple of years ago, like Sinaloa was added, for instance. But I think it's 10 states now, but it's growing. In the beginning, it was, I think, 3 or 4, the first, and then more states are added. And you may today use any kind of agave you like, as long as it grows within the borders of the designation of origin.
Was that always the case? I feel like when I studied it, in 15 years ago, it was like 21 different kinds of agave.
But it was really messy in the beginning because there were specific kinds of agave, but they have listed the ones who grew within the borders.
Yeah.
And then there were exceptions, and then there were some exceptions to the exception.
Okay. So
it was just like a mess. But now you may technically use whatever agave as long as it grows within the designation of origin.
Yeah.
And then you have Raicilla, which is the same state as tequila, the main state of tequila. So it has to be produced in Jalisco and certain areas of Jalisco. And you have to use specific agaves. Then you can call it Raicilla. So it's like a mezcal from Jalisco, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Sotol, which is made in 3 northern states of Mexico, but the main state is Chihuahua, and you make it from the Sotol plant. So the plant is called the same as the spirit. Scientifically, it's called Dacilirion, and you have a few varieties like Dacilirion veleri and so on. So that's a spirit of its own, but the production method is similar to the one used in Mezcal, and the Dacilirion and the agave plant are rather closely related.
Yeah.
So, and for long we thought that Dacilirion was a kind of a agave, but then we realized it's not.
Does it bloom more than once as well, like in contrast to...
No.
No.
As far as I know, if I remember correctly, it only blooms one.
Okay.
But it only blooms with the coyotes, so don't get the hijuelos. So it's only more or less wild still today. But they are working with different projects, trying to grow Sotol more controlled to cultivate it. So you can keep it alive, because now it's also controlled how much Sotol you are legally allowed to harvest, because it's wild.
Was there something with Texas and Sotol? I seem to remember was someone making Sotol in Texas, and then they basically gave it the DOP and said you can't do that anymore?
Yeah. They make Sotol, and they make agave spirits in Texas, Arizona, Nevada, because we must not forget, all those states used to be in Mexico.
Yeah.
A big chunk of southern U.S., all the way up to Colorado, and Colorado, Nevada, California.
California, I always call it LA.
Texas, and so on. Utah used to be Mexico. So there are a lot of similar traditions there, and you have agaves there as well, and there are like indigenous people there who still work the agave in both Arizona, Nevada, and Texas, who live by their old traditions and have agave ceremonies and so on, and make tequila and Sotol or mezcal and Sotol like products, but due to legislation they of course can't call it that. But they are...
What do they call it now? Because I feel like I remember a Texas Sotol, and now they can't do that. So maybe
I don't know, to be honest. They've probably like local variety names. Like I met a couple of guys in Florida who make an agave spirit from Florida, and they call it Kush.
Kush.
Yeah.
A sweet Kush.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Spelled the same way.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are local names, but I have no idea.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
And same I tried yesterday. I've been wanting to try it for years, and I finally found it here yesterday. The South African Karoo spirits.
Oh yeah, we saw it was like something on the shelf somewhere.
Leonista was the brand called, and they call it Karoo because it's from the Karoo region or Karoo Desert in South Africa.
Yeah.
But it was really delicious. I wanted to try it for so many years.
Have you tried the Indian one?
No, not yet.
I don't want to talk shit.
I have it. I have it on my wish list. But as far as I know, the 2 production facilities I know of in India, they are very industrialized. So I guess it tastes like neutral spirit.
Yeah, I wish it tastes like neutral spirit.
Yeah,
I wish it was more neutral.
Yeah.
I had it, and I think it was like, one of the ambassadors or something gave me a bottle while I was there, and he's like, I got this for you, and I tasted it with a brave face, and then left it exactly where he gave it to me, and like I accidentally forgot it.
Yeah, I still want to try it. You know, it's always fun to explore.
They did have like, I don't know, do you know there's an Indian spirit they make from cashews. I can't remember what it's called, but it's such a good spirit.
Yeah.
Like that could be like, I mean, it could never be, I don't think it could be as big as mezcal, but it's like similar to, you get these like weird spirits sometimes that just don't leave their country of origin.
Yeah, there are a
like
lot of weird shit out there.
Mirabelle in France, like it's such a good plum
delicious.
eau de vie.
Yeah.
And I just like, where is it? Like, why is no one producing this? It's so banging. And yeah, there's this cashew spirit in India that they make from the it's super sustainable because they think they make it, they ferment the husks of the cashew plant, which is basically toxic otherwise. You know, so they just ferment like trash and make an amazing spirit out of it. It tastes really like, it tastes like a really good arak or something like that. Super nice. Yeah, there's
a lot of cool spirits still for us to explore.
Yeah.
I think I'm not probably gonna ruin my retirement plan here, but I've tried a lot of like eau de vies, like fruit, unaged fruit distillates from Mexico, but made with local fruits like mango, pineapple, and like tropical fruits. And it's in that mezcaleros are producing it because it grows mangoes where they have their palenques, and they make like mango. They just ferment mango, distill it in their little mezcal stills, and it's off the hook how delicious it is. And I really want to. One day I really want to make something out of it, like start producing, because to me, eau de vies are the superior spirit for cocktails.
They're incredible,
hands down. Like a raspberry eau de vie, it's the most delicious, and it's such a pure flavor, or pear
it's
eau de
really
vies.
isolated and clean, and you're like,
and it's
boom.
And but it is crazy expensive because what does it take? I think it's like 500 kilos of raspberries per liter. It's something insane.
The yield is insane. Yeah.
But the equal yield for mangoes or pineapples is also insane. You don't need that much mango to make a liter of mango eau de vie in Mexico. So it could be cheaper, and we could make insane cocktails with it, because I really want to venture into that one day. Make like Mexican eau de vie company. And I've seen it. I've been thinking about it for so many years, and just like, when is someone else going to discover it? And I saw it. It wasn't that long ago. I tried like a week ago or something like that. I tried something. It's like, okay, here it comes. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Be ready.
But I think it takes someone really close to the spirit and the end product to care enough to make an eau de vie, because the business mind would just go, well, why don't I just flavor a vodka with raspberry? Why don't I just flavor a vodka with mango?
Yeah.
And like I can have like 10 mangoes for 10 liters or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of fermenting mango, losing loads of it, and and having a terrible yield for a slight difference in flavor. But to us, that difference in flavor is everything.
That's why you need
a mango vodka and a mango eau de vie, two different things. Yeah. But to if you look at it on a P&L, it's like
it's
same
insane.
Thing.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing is that this one's ridiculous.
I do see why Diageo is not going to be the first.
Yeah.
They're not going to lead the way here. But someone like all those people who started the mezcal thing, or bartenders venturing into spirit industries now, I see great things coming there, because it's flavors we all love, and its true flavors, and everything from Mexico is cool.
What's your view on celebrity tequila brands?
I like it. I support it.
Yes.
I'm one of few who support it, because it goes back to
Why?
again.
Convince me. I don't know if I'm convinced.
Because that makes more people discover tequila or mezcal, and that makes the crumbs bigger for the little guy.
Yeah. Okay.
And the more who discovers tequila, the better my life is, and the better life for small artisanal producers will get. So I support it, and I don't see it as cultural appropriation.
I don't say, no, I don't care about that.
That is really weird when people start making a case like that for poor Kyle Jenner. And also an interesting thing about especially celebrity tequila, I think that that I've discovered is that, and this is food for thought for all us in this hospitality industry who do consider us very open-minded and almost woke in some cases, to use woke in a good way, in a positive way. But I discovered that when female celebrities are launching a tequila, we bash harder on them than when a man does it. For instance, why did Kyle Jenner take more shit than George Clooney? They're doing the exact same thing. Why hasn't...
Or The Rock.
Yeah, or The Rock, or Sammy Hagar, who was the original celebrity tequila, or Carlos Santana, of course he's Mexican, but still, or what's his name? Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
They don't get nearly as much shit as whenever a female celebrity launches a tequila. I think that's really interesting. That's a bigger issue for me with celebrity tequilas than they actually are launching a tequila.
Yeah.
Because I think it's cool. Most of them, the ones I tried span from like taste like shit to mediocre, but that's not a problem for me. I just don't drink it.
Yeah.
And yes, they are more expensive. You can get more quality, so to speak, tequila for lesser money. Yeah, sure. Buy that then.
Yeah, well,
that's how I see it.
I guess this is my hang-up. I don't care about the cultural appropriation thing. I don't think anyone in the culture cares about that, really.
Nope.
And I think people who claim that maybe don't really understand how the industry works, and actually, like... George Clooney doesn't have an agave farm in Mexico. No. He's buying liquid from Mexicans, so they should probably understand that before they get into that area. But I suppose like to some degree, mine is just a quality price ratio issue that I have. Like you say, But
the ones who understand, they're not going to fall for it anyway.
Yeah, they're not going to fall for it.
I am not, me and the ones who are like me, we are not the market for Kyle Jenner's tequila. I promise, we are not. So I don't have to care.
Yeah, and maybe those people will start with Kylie Jenner's tequila and then discover a really nice single origin mezcal.
Yeah, some will walk that path, and that's, to me, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a very good thing. So no more celebrity brands, and And sooner or later it's going to be cool. I think Wu-Tang Clan just launched a tequila pretty recently.
Really?
I don't see anyone, because for some reason a lot of us in my little club, so to speak, us growing up in the agave world at the same time, for some reason most of us also like the Wu-Tang Clan. No one has taken shots at the Wu-Tang Clan for launching a tequila. I don't remember if it's the Wu-Tang Clan or if it's just the RZA, but no one takes shots at the RZA for launching a tequila. Why is that? Or and Ghostface.
It's just a bravery question.
Yeah,
huh?
Ghostface also just teamed up with what's the brand ever? I don't know if it's big outside of the Nordics, but Clase Azul in those huge ceramic bottles.
It
costs
massive.
A fucking fortune.
Of course, it's massive.
Ghostface just teamed up with them, releasing a special edition.
Yeah.
No one takes shots at him because we all know how we feel. I'm not saying it's a shitty tequila, but it's not for me. But it is. Of course, it's tasty. It's sweet and tastes like chocolate. Of course, it's tasty, but it's not.
No one's taken shots at any of the thousands of cognac references in hip hop songs over the last 40 years. Right?
No one saw a problem with Busta Rhymes getting money from Courvoisier. No one saw a problem with that. So we're very cherry picking in who to bash.
Yeah. There's people with probably too much time on their hands.
Yeah.
All right. You
No, I
convinced
like
me,
it.
man. I'm.
Just
and
if
I
you-
wasn't really like against it anyway. I guess I just. Yeah. I probably. I've probably trashed a couple now and again to people, but mostly just to educate them and say like, hey, like, it's good that you picked up a tequila or a mezcal. But I can tell you some much better ones to spend your money on.
Yeah,
like,
and
that haven't got a celebrity attached.
Yeah, and that is true. I mean, depending on what you like, I think you always should drink what you like, but you should know what you're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same with the whole. I was pretty involved in the whole rum and sugar discussion when I was fashionable, and I don't have a problem with rum brands adding sugar. Do it. If that helps you, do it. I don't care. I don't have to drink your oversweetened rum. But my problem is when you start lying about it.
Yeah.
Be transparent and don't come with lies that no, but it's so sweet because it's residual sugar from the barrels. Like, yeah, what did you age? Syrup?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. You added sugar. Just say that.
Yeah.
That's why I have so much respect
about it,
for Alexander Gabriel at Maison Ferrand and Plantation Rums, because he's honest. Yeah, we add a little dosage.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a lot,
Yeah.
but the way we see it is a dosage. You always done it in champagne, you done it in cognac,
Mm-hmm.
and people like it. It gets delicious.
Yeah.
We don't do it to all our rums. We do it to some.
Yeah. Okay.
Just be honest about it, and then it's up to me. Do I want to drink this or do I not want to drink this? Do I want to pay for it or do I not want to pay for it? Well, same with all those. During like 1 or 2 years, the most expensive bottle of spirit ever sold was a bottle of tequila called Ley. And is it 924, I think it was called. Anywho, that was the most expensive bottle of spirits ever sold at an auction. And of course, you paid for the bottle.
Yeah.
It was like a Ley tequila, to me, flavor-wise, is like a standard tequila.
Mm-hmm.
And they made this insane bottle with like crystals and platinum details on it. So you pay for the bottle. As long as you understand that you're not paying for crafted tequila here, you're paying all those millions of dollars for the bottle.
Yeah.
As long as you understand that, cool, buy it. I would
Yeah.
buy it as well if I had those money.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't, but yeah. Actually, fun story, not many know. That special edition of Ley that was sold on that auction did not have Ley in it because they wanted to do something special. So they actually bought arete, tequila arete, and poured in it because they want something different.
But the standard arete?
Yeah. So,
Like-
so someone paid like, I don't know.
Was it an anejo or?
No, Blanco.
It was an arete blanco.
Yeah.
Sold for millions.
Yeah.
Or thousands, or hundreds of thousands or whatever.
I could save you a lot of money, get the same product, but
Yeah.
I also don't think the people spending those money, and same on some of the Class Azul special editions, it's a beautiful, gorgeous bottle, but I don't think they spend those money on bottles for the liquid. They do it for the, or we see that in cognac and Scottish whiskey all the time.
When
Those,
you're buying a Macallan or
those Louis XIII
the Louis
cognac.
Trace. I mean, the Louis Trace is something extra because of the amount of aging and the history
and
there.
it is
but
delicious.
still, you do know that you're paying for the bottle, and they even talk about the bottle a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
You know, almost as much as they do about the liquid.
Yeah,
When you're
and
like, it was crafted by
I
this
can see
person,
some
it's crystal,
honesty in that.
So that's
I
fine,
see an honesty in that, and that I do respect.
Okay.
But when people start lying, that's my problem.
All right, let me see if I can get you on this one then. How do you feel about diffusers?
Same there. There's a really hot potato among. I mean, there are a club within my club, or a club within the club I'm part of, who like every chance they get to bash on diffuser made tequila. To explain the diffuser, the regular process is that you harvest the agave, cook the agave, mill the agave to extract the juice, and then you ferment the juice. But many years ago, the big companies found a way to reverse the process, so you pretty much juice raw agave and cook the juice instead. That you get a bigger yield, so you get more liters of juice from each kilo of agave, and you reduce the time, because a fast cooking is at least, say, 10 to 12 hours. When you boil the juice, you can do it in like 3-4 hours. So you save a lot of time.
Would you say that it also gives the producer the opportunity to use a slightly younger agave?
Yeah. You can use like unripe agave because you just want to, as long as it gets some juice in it, you will get it out. And then it's a pretty advanced technique, so many aspects and many additives and so on. So they take every chance they can to bash on this process. But to me, if you want to use it. I don't care. I'm just not gonna buy it, and I'm not gonna like it. So
do you think the so let's say someone wants to get into tequila and they try a tequila that's been made using diffusion, and let's say they taste it and they're like, oh, everyone talks about how good tequila is and this is rough, and then they never drink tequila again.
Yeah, I mean that's sad but to me that person is very narrow-minded and would probably not give anything a second go either. That person, if that person ate at, say, Noma, who must be considered the most important restaurant since El Bulli closed down, I don't think that person would appreciate anything they serve at Noma either. Like, who the fuck want to eat a fermented fish head? Deconstructed and reconstructed so it actually looks like a fermented fish head once you get it on the plates. Like, they're not narrow-minded people. But yes, it would be sad. But at the same time, when I started doing tequila tastings, my greatest help and secret weapon was that people had tried shitty tequila because they all knew, okay, and I'm going to try tequila and I'm not going to like it. So it's very easy to convince them by giving them, say, an aged crafted tequila that's full of sweet agave flavors and then just a little bit seasoned with barrels that they can relate to and all the vanilla flavors. It's so easy to convince them, because if they're expecting this is going to taste like shit and they get shit created by angels in their mouth, there's like, wow. Which is way harder, the way I see it, with, say, Scottish whiskey. Because if you tried a shitty Scottish whiskey and you didn't like it, it doesn't really matter how crafted or well done, because it still has that flavor of Scottish whiskey. So you're probably not going to like it anyway, whilst a shitty tequila is so far away from sweet, fruity agave flavors. So you won't even recognize it. So that actually, I think it has helped me a lot, making a lot of people discover tequila. And again, if you don't like it, don't buy it.
But how do people know? Like, if you had a magic wand to change the labeling law, and you could say, okay, every bottle of tequila has to name how the agave is cooked.
I don't think
autoclave, brick oven, or diffuser.
If that would be a possibility, which I don't think it ever will, and I don't want that world.
I'm giving you a wand.
Yeah. But I don't want that world. But if I were to get that wand, I would take it.
Okay.
Because I think it would be good. Because, as I said, I don't like when people are being lied to, so to speak. And I'm not sure, because I haven't tried it, because I don't think, you can prove me wrong, please do, because I don't think it exists. But I would love to try a tequila made with a diffuser where you don't have any other additives. Because the thing is, if you take that shortcut and not cooking the agave and milling it, and instead using the diffuser, you are more keen on using additives during fermentation as well, and that's what fucks it up.
During fermentation?
Yeah.
Like, what do they add during fermentation?
I don't know.
Because I know about glycerin afterwards.
Yeah, that's common. That's common in vodka as well. We don't talk about it.
No, but everything. Yeah. It's common in everything.
But the most common one is something called, at least if I Englify the Swedish term, it's called ammonium nitrate. It sounds like an English thing.
Ammonia nitrate, maybe.
Yeah. So, but it's easily, it's like a salt. You more commonly, you find it in the spirit industry, and you find it in the fertilizer industry. That's why, I don't know if it's possible, if it's just a rumor, but it's always said that you can build bombs using fertilizers. It's because they have this ammonium nitrate salt in it. That salt can be used during fermentation. It's commonly used because then you can use specific breeds of turbo yeast, and that cuts the fermentation time down to like hours. And then you add that salt that works like a catalyst for the yeast. So it can process even faster. So say a normal fermentation, say, I don't know, 2-3 days maybe. Here you can cut it down to the craziest I've heard from a tequila producer. He said we can do it in 4 hours. A big tank.
Yeah.
We can ferment it done in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And fermentation is the most important step in spirit production and in alcohol production, I would say, because that's when you create or refine the flavors.
You think that's even true with products which rely heavily on aging?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is, because aging is a bit different, yes, because during aging you also add flavors from the barrels. But otherwise, you never add flavors. Like they talk a lot about distillation, but you don't add. You just take away flavors during distillation. You don't add any flavor. The flavors comes from the raw material and during the fermentation. So whatever you add during the fermentation and whatever yeast you're using during the fermentation, it's going to leave a mark, leave a trace. And that's why a lot of industrially produced tequila has this kind of like salty, citrusy soap flavor to it. Because you have added chemicals. There is ways to get rid of that.
And probably it smells a little bit like piss, because ammonia has a strong, pissy smell.
Yeah, and you can get rid of those flavors, but then you lose all the time you saved, so you don't. And people also are getting used to that's how tequila should taste like. So if a brand A who used these additives, if they were to remove it, people wouldn't recognize brand A anymore, and it's going to hurt them. So let's go for it. And I don't know any tequila brand who's using a diffuser who's not using additives. So I don't know, to be honest, how a diffuser,
so maybe
like
it's
a
not
pure, so to speak, diffused tequila. Because when people started learning about diffusers, the main argument was it tastes less. Because if you say that a crafted tequila has, if you do it by the book, you have this wide spectra of flavors. And you use a diffuser, you only get this. So you lose all these flavors. But then, as I see it, but if you have this using a roller mill, then you have this much flavor using a Tahona stone. But you don't complain on roller mills because that's the industry standard.
And it might be even wider with wild fermentation over 15 days rather than 3.
Exactly.
The question is, where do you
draw your line?
Where is too narrow?
Yeah. So I don't know how a tequila without additives, only used a diffuser, tastes like. So I don't know. But my main argument, if they want to use that to produce bulk tequila, go ahead, do it. I'm just not going to buy it because I don't think it tastes good. And that's the main reason. And same with tequila and 100% agave a bit. Because when people learned about 100% agave, pretty fast went sour that tequila is shit, 100% agave is quality, but that's not true at all. I know at least a couple of brands who make tequila with only 51% agave. It's amazing. It tastes like gorgeous. And I know 100% agave where they have additives and they use a diffuser and whatnot.
And actually, it's probably more sustainable, ironically. Like to use 51% agave, like you're supplementing your production with sugarcane, which you can grow in 1 year. Whereas agave is,
It's actually more sustainable. I never thought about it. So same there. If I like it, I'm gonna buy it and drink it. If I don't like it, I'm not. And that's how I see it. But and who am I and what's to gain for me to start trash talking others? I can speak, I can tell you how they are doing it, but then it's up to you. If you think I really like wine, like I love wine, like traditionally, conventionally made wine. I love the great wines from Burgundy. That's my favorite style of wine. That's for me. My mom, her favorite wine was a rosé. What did you call the bag? Bag and box?
Yeah, well, in Australia they call it a goon bag.
Yeah. She loved a goon bag of rosé named, what was it called? Chill Out.
Yeah.
And you could buy it in Sweden for like, I don't know, 25 euros for 3 liters, and it's from Australia, which is insane how you can produce something from grapes ship it across literally the other side of the world and sell it for 25 euros. She loved that wine. So good, mom. You buy that and you drink that, and I spend shitloads of more money on Burgundy wines, and we both be happy.
Yeah.
And she understood that, okay, this is not prestige wines, but I like it, so I'm going to drink it. And that's how I see it. If you like it, drink it.
Yeah.
As long as you understand.
It would be nice, I think, like, you know, like, I suppose I don't think you fully converted me, but, like, I think, like, it would be nice if those doing things in I don't know whether I should say a more traditional way, but like taking the longer route to have that wider flavor band. If they could have a tool that they could use, like to put on the label to say like, hey, like, just so you know, we're cooking it this way. Our agaves are always 10 plus years old, or at least reach maturity. We do wild fermentation, you know, like all these things. Like that's where I think regulation is good, you know, like having some labeling, like, okay, like, do whatever you want to do. And maybe you're still allowed to call it tequila within a certain limit, but you, like you say, transparency. Like if you're adding stuff during fermentation, if you're using a diffuser, if you're doing this, you should list it, just like they should list their thing. And if you're proud of what you're doing, then fine.
Yeah, but
if nobody cares,
I
then
think
fine.
that's why I think it's so cool when they changed the laws for mezcal, because that's literally what they did. If it just says mezcal, you don't know. It can be crafted, but it doesn't have to be. It can be done anyway. Whilst if it says ancestral or artisanal, then you know there are no additives, there are no nothing. They're done in a traditional way. And more regulatory councils for spirits should look at that. And that would be a thing for tequila. So we could have tequila and tequila 100% agave, and then as a subcategory you could have, I don't know, tequila and tequila artisanal and 100% agave and 100% agave artisanal, for instance. Then you know, if it says artisanal, there are no additives. It must be milled by either, say, Tahona by hand or with roller mills, for example.
Is that artisanal? You can use a roller mill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And by hand, when we say by hand, no one's crushing agaves by hand unless they're an absolute monster. But it's like smashing it with that baseball bat thing, right?
With like a mallet or that's also insane. You can buy that like all over Europe. You can find bottles of mezcal that someone stood with a fucking mallet in a hollowed out canoe, just bashing it by hand, collecting it by hand, and fermenting it wild in remote parts of Oaxaca, distilling it in 2 clay urns put on top of each other.
Yeah, which maybe hold 150 liters.
Yeah, and then someone bottles it, labels it, and you can go to a liquor store or cocktail bar in like Paris or Stockholm or Barcelona and buy a shot. That to me is insane. And that's also insane. Like, yes, 18 euros for a shot, that's rather expensive. But considering the amount of time, and also say that it's a like rare wild tempestate. Okay, someone also waited 30 years for that plant to mature and then hand harvested it, cooked it in a fucking pit, hand dug pit, and then crushed it with a baseball bat in a canoe. Yeah. And then you can buy it for 18 euros a shot.
Yeah.
And that makes your previous question so important. Yeah, but that guy who did that thing with a mallet, how many of those 18 euros ended up in his pocket? Probably a couple of cents. But then again, I mean, sure, it's a lot of, bar owner, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, look, I'm not naive. Everyone needs to get paid.
But as long as they get a fair share, I think.
Yeah. As long as it's improved their life, as long as demand has improved their life somewhat. And they, this may sound naive, but they honestly don't seem like greedy people to me.
No, I don't think
they are not purely driven by money, and it makes them happy that people want their products. Yeah. And I do believe they still should get paid. Yeah, exactly. I think he said it was like 40 years it took to mature this. I was with Aziz's dad, at his house, and he pulled out a bottle of Habali, which
Yeah,
was
Habali
like,
can be really old.
yeah, it was like, he said it was like 40 years, and it was yellow in the bottle, and I'm like, is it
Oh, yeah,
aged?
yeah.
And he's like, no, it came out the still like that, and I was like, but I've never like, you know, you always learn when you're learning about spirits, it's like everything that comes out the still is clear, and you're like, cool, lock that in, everything's clear. And he's like, no, this comes out of the still yellow. And it's probably because if it takes 40 years and sugar change just keep getting more and more complex, the still couldn't even break it down into a transparent liquid.
It could be something like that. But that's also a thing with mezcal. You need to forget so much that we know. We have those blinkers on our, especially us Europeans, and even more the Northern Europeans, and even more the Swedes. We love
Especially
to like,
the Swedes.
Yeah.
What are the rules?
Yeah, what are the rules? And this is the only truth. We are like Mandalorians. This is the way. There's no exceptions. There's no nothing. And my first trip to Mexico, I was actually traveling with wine people, like sommeliers and wine writers, and they were very like they were asking the same questions to every tequilero we met, and they got the same answers. And when we got back into the bus, they were so provoked every time. It's like, why can't they just say their annual yield? It's like, because they don't know, they don't care.
They don't give a shit.
No, they don't care. They said, well, we can produce this much. Yeah, but how much do you do? It depends on how much do you want to buy.
Yeah, there's a real like cultural difference.
Yeah, and we need to forget, and especially with agave, it's the same thing with that heads, heart, and tail. Heads poisonous, heart drinkable, tails disgusting and poisonous. And then you have mezcal puntas, which is not the heart of the heart, which we all know who know spirits. The tighter you cut the heart, the more delicious it gets. And then comes mezcal. The earlier you take it from the still, the better it is. Like,
well, the way they described puntas to me, like, or as I understood it, was like the moment it transitioned from like, you know, like pure methanol, shouldn't drink this, to, you know, something drinkable. That first drop, that's puntas.
Yeah,
and it's like 65% and fucking delicious. And
but it's
like,
delicious. It's so sweet, and you drink it straight from the still, and also like the Cortés, as his family, like as they do. When they dilute their mezcals in the El Holgorio range, they don't use water, but they use heads and tails. If they need to go up a bit, they use the heads. If they need to go down a bit, they use the tails because it's lower in alcohol. So they dilute the mezcal with mezcal. And I remember I did a tasting for, was like one of the sommeliers at a Michelin star restaurant in Sweden, and the guy behind Sweden's cognac brand Grönstedt. He's like a legend in Swedish spirit. He's a spirit producer, and he knows his shit. And they were tasting this mezcal from the Cortés family, and I told him, they don't use any water. They only use heads and tails to dilute, and he just spit it right out. Yeah. It's like, are you trying to kill me? It's like, no, but it's mezcal. It works differently. No. He said no. That's not how it works. Like, okay. I mean, I'm not going to win this argument. Never, ever. But you need to relearn.
Yeah, I remember like a similar incident. We were in Cascajuin, and I remember someone asking some question about methanol, and even me, I had always been trained like methanol bad, ethanol good, and I don't remember who we were with. I remember what's his name at Cascajuin, Pepe or Pepe, I don't know. Anyway, but the distiller was the Chavas. Chavas. Yeah, I was and it was either him or one of the distillers there. Hey, Chavas. And he was like, "There's nothing wrong with mezcal with methanol." He's like, "Methanol's awesome. That's where all the flavor is. You want methanol." It's like you don't want to drink it pure, but like methanol's like the good stuff. And I was like, oh shit, always like I love those moments where your boundaries get broken down, and you're like, oh shit, like I did just lock that in and just trust it forever, like as like a piece of like knowledge which was locked away. And then they just go, but methanol's nothing wrong with that, and you're like, oh shit.
There's so many moments like that.
Of course.
And also, I remember we had a big tasting in Stockholm with. It sounds crazy just to say that. Also proves how far we have come. We had a big Raicilla tasting in Stockholm with Esteban, who is like what he has done for Raicilla he has done it all. The reason anyone cares or knows about Raicilla, even heard the name Raicilla, is because of Esteban. And he has this brand called La Venenosa. It's probably the brand of Raicilla that's spread. And he talks the stories about how they produce and the small scale producers. And someone asked, but isn't that dumb to do it in that way? Don't you want to get more modern? Because how can you guarantee and keep consistency? He says, looking at this bartender, like I do not understand where you come from. And he just says, we don't, in mezcal, because he consider all agaves and mezcal.
Yeah.
In mezcal, we don't believe in consistency.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck yeah.
And that's another
That's
like boundary
truth.
breaker that you're like, yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even the brands don't work the same, right?
No.
Like you have like a brand like La Venenosa, and you just like you're buying into the brand and saying, we trust your brand to make something good.
Yeah.
We're not asking you to make it the same every time,
No.
like Coca-Cola or Bacardi or whatever.
No.
Like. And you know, it's so different to like Scotch whiskey, where you have the most important person in the building that is there to make sure that every bottle tastes exactly the same. Yeah. Whereas like with agave, they're like, but we can't control that. Like, you know,
exactly.
There's
it's
10
like,
years, 10, 20 years that happens before we even start working.
Yeah.
And that's in the ground, and we can't control the weather. So it's over. Like,
what do you want from me?
We'll just make good shit. Like, you know, and you just have to buy the brand for that and trust that it's good. Yeah.
I always tell that when we do the trips to Mexico, it's like the most important thing you need to learn now, and that's not just mezcal, that's like in rural Mexico as well. Don't try to understand it. Just enjoy the ride. There's so many weird shit going on here that we can't relate to coming where we come from. And it's like, sometimes it's going to be later. Sometimes it's going to be this, and sometimes it's going to be that. I don't know. I don't have the answer. It just is what it is. Just enjoy the ride and try to accept and respect that you're not home now. You experience something really, really, really weird and really odd. And even though a lot of people growing up in agave at the same time as me now think it has become like too commercialized or too big, and like there's a lot of bartenders now who's been to Mexico, they've been to even the small distilleries like Fortaleza, Arete, Cascahuin, and they've been on a palenque tour in Oaxaca. But it's easy for us to be blinded by that and forget that it's still very few of us who've actually been there and seen it and been fortunate enough to be invited into a small, real palenque and see how it actually works. A lot of these people, they live there, like, what's it called? El Lobo makes the black label for La Venenosa. We had a... First, we gathered in the backyard, and he did his thing, talked a little bit about, and then we're going to go to his stills. And we're walking literally through his house, and his mother is sitting there. She fell asleep in front of the TV, and we just me and 12 bartenders from Sweden just walking past. They invite you to their house because that's where he produces. Yeah. And I had another really weird Sotol tasting with a producer called Lupe Lopez, who makes Sotol for the Sotoleros brand, who is Ricardo, the same guy from Noceluna. He's got his own like crafted brand, a more crafted brand called Sotoleros. And the first time he met Lupe Lopez, I was with him, and it was pitch black outside. We drive to this house in the middle of nowhere in Chihuahua. We knock on the door, and his wife opened the door. And first she opens it, then she shut it halfway. And when she sees Ricardo standing there, and you can tell he comes from a Mexican family with money. And behind him, this white dude with tattoos all over his arm standing. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, and Ricardo explains, like, hola, señoras, I'm here for Lupe, and I've heard about Sotol. I work with Sotol. Is Lupe at home? She just closes the door, and then Lupe comes, and same reaction. Open the doors, and just, what the fuck is going on here? What are you doing here? What do you want from me? Ricardo explains, and Lupe's like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's try some Sotol, and we try some Sotol, and we're still standing outside his house. And then his wife come out with chiltepin peppers. Only to me, it's like, here, try this. It's the strongest type of peppers, just little kernels, and it's fucking insane, but delicious. And then after we gained his trust, he's like, I have some other stuff you should try, some real stuff. And I don't think the Mexican tax authorities are watching this, and I hope not. And if they do, sorry, Lupe, I pay whatever they want you. So like, yeah, I have some more that the authorities don't know of, but I keep it in a secret place because they're not allowed to go into my kids' rooms. So we go into his house, go into his daughter. His daughter is like, I don't know, 11 years old. So his daughter's room, there we have this blue plastic vats.
Yeah, I know the ones.
With Sotol standing in his daughter's room. So we're sitting there, me,
He's got
Ricardo,
them in
and
his
another guy
daughter's room.
in his daughter's bed, drinking like high-proof artisanal Sotol.
Yeah, they're like 1.2
like,
meters tall, man. They're like, what, like
Yeah.
50-gallon drums or
Yeah,
something?
and it's just like those stories. That's what makes it. And now that led to a partnership between Ricardo and Lupe. So now you can buy, and I bought a bottle of Lupe's. He makes a really weird special edition thing under the Sotoleros brand. I bought a bottle for Mexico, the place we're opening. So it's really cool that I have this story, and I actually met him. I sat in his daughter's room drinking this weird stuff, and now I can put a beautifully designed bottle on the shelf, on the back bar of a taqueria or a tortilleria in Stockholm.
Yeah.
And that whole chain, you can't experience that chain in any other type of spirits, I want to say.
No,
it's
something beautiful about that. Like that's an extreme version, but like some of the best mezcals I have, and I've always questioned whether it's purely context or the actual liquid, but some of the best mezcals I've ever had came out of those blue drums.
Yeah.
In a palenque in the middle of nowhere. With like the guy takes a ladle and he pours it into jicara and you just drink it and you're like, this is so good.
Context, yes, pizza is best in Italy, even though it's not. But yeah,
but
context is
the
one
liquid
thing.
Is good as well.
But also
and you're also connected to the person who made it, which
Yeah.
just gives you like a good feeling that like it hasn't traveled anywhere. And
No,
it's probably
exactly.
As fresh as it can be.
I think that
that
adds to the quality. I honestly do that. It's untouched.
Mm-hmm.
It's as pure as it can be. Same with when you try punta straight from the still. When you take the jicara and just let it drop from the actual still to your glass and drink it. Of course, I mean it's still warm.
Yeah.
And trust me, like shelf warm spirits are rarely good, but
but that's good. Yeah, punta.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a special world. I love it.
Well, listen, Bjorn, I could talk to you for like hours, and I think we have to get even nerdier on the next one. But
let's do
thanks
it.
so much, man.
They only had
Appreciate
10
your time,
hours
brother.
of hard drive. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
this.
man. Appreciate it.
It's been a pure pleasure.